right, welcome. Couple of things before we get started. This is my information, as I tell everyone, and we have a few new people here today too, so welcome to them. You can always go to kenspencer.com. I'll show you how to see the videos that we'll be recording today. I always tell everybody if you send me an email, or I prefer text over phone calls, but if you do that and you don't hear back from me in 24 hours, assume I'm dead or in jail, or like most of the day yesterday I was up in the foothills and I had very little cell coverage. But if I don't respond, you're not nagging me by sending me something again, a reminder. I look at it like a reminder and it's fine. It's not a nag. I don't take it personal. It's, hey, I missed it is what really happened. So I like to try to get back to you as soon as I can, but circumstances as they are with 200 emails a day and multiple phone calls, it doesn't always happen. So I'm recording it and I'll show you where to go in a second, but since we do have some new members, and I don't know if even old-time members really know what you get for your MacNexus membership. I always tell people, and you should tell your friends, because you guys are the ones that always get called on to be tech support for your friends, and if you want to unburden yourself with that, you can have them go to triage down there on the first Saturday of every month, pretty much the meetings where we have speakers and that, and then of course these classes. And then there's also classes on the third Saturday of every month that are taught down at the food bank, and those are more of the kind of not beginning, but more of the basics types classes than what we do here. So it's $40 membership, and that's really for a family is what it is. It's not an individual. And we're 600 members strong still, and we keep going right about that. So we're financially very sound, but we can always use new members because with our demographic, we're losing members for other reasons than them quitting MacNexus. So, but we do stay pretty stable at that. We fluctuate 5 members every month or so. So anyway, so yeah, let a friend, and I always say, come to 2 or 3, tell them to come to 2 or 3 of the classes. If they like it, then they can join. It's not like you notice we don't have a gatekeeper out there saying, look, you got to really be a member to do it. Let them try it and see, it's kind of like crack cocaine, they try it, they'll like it, right? Or so I'm told. Or it's actually more like I tell people this is our 12-step program for Macintosh, and it really is. And of course, now it's beyond that. And you probably have a lot of people that weren't Mac people that are now iPad people, and it's a great outlet for them. And probably about more than half of our resources are going to the iPad, iPhone devices. And you can tell them this is their, we get a lot of switchers coming over from the PC because unfortunately this always hurts your foot. So, and then there's this. So with MacNexus's help, the doctor is in and they can help you out a lot. So, go ahead.
Can you explain the name MacNexus? I was asked by friends, and everybody could associate something with Mac, but what is Nexus?
We are the name. No. Well, actually, and we have our 30th anniversary coming up in October. Gail McGovern formed MacNexus, and you got to remember the Macintosh was introduced in early '84, January. She started the organization in October. And if you think about just the nexus, a nexus or a change, you can look that up. Does anybody have a good definition of nexus? Let's see. Define nexus.
Checking my sources. From 2 definitions of nexus, the first one is the means of connection between things linked in series.
The means of connection between things linked in a series or a connected series or group. So back in '84, Siri didn't exist. We would have had to trudge to the library, and then probably a new word probably wouldn't have been there. So great question, though. Come on in, have a seat. There's a couple chairs scattered around and in the back. So yeah, good question, but obviously the Mac part of it. And we're able to use, we can use the Apple trademark for certain things because we're a certified Macintosh or Apple users group is what MUG they call them, Macintosh users group. Back in the day, there wasn't the internet, and if you needed to learn how to use a Macintosh, but more particularly certain programs, everybody had to get together as a collective and learn from the people that had kicked their computer around like the guy kicking it there and learn to use the programs. And that's where user groups really started. Many of the user groups have gone by the wayside from lack of membership, but also pretty much lack of funds. The reason we're very, very sound financially is because years ago, MacNexus was an internet service provider. And as an internet service provider, they charged more fees for that, and so it built up a little bit of a war chest. And I'm president, and I've been on the board of directors for a while, and we try to be financially. In fact, we plan when we do our budget to lose about $3,000 a year. Well, inevitably, we gain about $1,000 a year. So, you know, it's one of those things, but we try to be good stewards of it. But that's why, too, there hasn't been a membership increase for I don't know how long, since before my time. So, but I think it's a pretty good value, to be honest. Where are you going to $40 for a year, and you can take your computer down there, and it's and now bring that up too. We're a volunteer-run organization. We can always use more volunteers because, like any volunteer organization, the volunteers that are active get stretched fairly thin. Do we have, Royce? I've got a chair, a stool here, or there's a chair there if you need, or. All right. And so, if everything goes right, you're computing on cloud 9. Which ironically brings us up to the iCloud, which I'm going to touch on briefly. This isn't an iCloud class, but I want to demystify some of this stuff. So, and there's a new thing coming in the fall called iCloud Drive. But let's talk about, now, people, I get the question all the time, well, almost like the question about what's MacNexus. Well, we just assume because it's there. I mean, I hadn't really thought through it like that, and I like that. But what is the cloud? The cloud, and don't be intimidated by it. If it's working great, you won't even know. But what happens is if you've been getting, anybody here doesn't get email? Anybody that doesn't have an email account? As long as you've been using email, you're essentially using the cloud. So if you think about it, this little cloud is a little computer that it's not up in the sky with a satellite or anything else. It just exists somewhere. Let's say you had Gmail as your email. If I sent you an email, it would go to the Gmail server that appears to be in the cloud because it's not in your closet. It's somewhere else down the road. So the mail I would send would go to Gmail server. And when you get your iPhone or your iPad or your Macintosh, they go to the Google server and say, go give me a copy of my mail. Your iPhone doesn't communicate with your Mac and say, go get me the mail that's on my Mac. No, they all reach to the cloud and say, go give me that mail there. So that's as simple as the cloud works. Now, you probably never thought about that with email, and we're going to talk about email today, but that's exactly how mail works, which is exactly how the cloud works. And it's a two-way street because when you reply to that email, you send it from your computer, the email goes up to Google's server, and from there, it goes to wherever that you addressed it to, hopefully if you addressed it correctly. So the cloud is as simple as that. But what the cloud does is more than email. It takes my contacts, my calendar, my notes, my reminders, and in the fall, it's going to do more than that. But what happens is, let's just use this scenario. Let's forget an iPad for a second. We've got 2 Macs. One of these could be an iPad. It doesn't really matter because you could have 20 devices hooked to your iCloud account. If I enter a new contact here, it goes up to the cloud, and then it goes down to the other devices. And by having a central clearinghouse, which is the iCloud, it knows which one you updated most recently. So if you modify a phone number or add a phone number on a device, when it connects to the internet, it goes to the cloud, it modifies it on the cloud, and then it propagates down to your other devices. It's as simple as that. You can do a calendar, you change appointment, and things like that. So Apple used to have that with the Mobile Me and things like that, but they weren't real good at implementing this. Cloud has been working pretty well. There's been some syncing issues for some people early on, but it seems to be working pretty solid now. A lot of it is more operator error in getting everything set right. Go ahead.
If everything goes through the cloud, why then does email take up space, occupy your hard drive space when it's on your computer, but it doesn't when it's on your devices?
Great question. So, and I'll repeat the question so it can be on the recording. So, why, and this will fill into the mail class, but I'll cover it now because it's a good point. Why does it take up room on my computer, but it doesn't take up room on my device? And that's one thing that's kind of unique. So first off, let's go back. When we send mail to the cloud, it takes up room on the cloud. The mail sits there. Obviously, if you have Gmail, you've got 15 gigabytes of space. That's why Gmail's great. You don't have to delete anything. But it stores it there. And what happens is on your Macintosh, think about it. Let's go to a real world scenario. You have a post office. But unusual to the way we have it set up now, let's pretend that you have a box at the post office that's exactly what your home address is. So you have two ways to go check your mail. You can go on down and walk into the post office and open your box and see what's there, delete what you want, read it, or take a copy home with you. A copy. Or you could never go to the post office and sit at home and have the mailman bring you a copy from the post office. And I said bring you a copy, not take it from the post office here. What happens is, if you go to gmail.com in Safari, that's like walking in the post office. You're looking directly at your mail that's on their Gmail server, okay? You're at the post office looking in it. In the meantime, your computer, Apple Mail, has logged in and says, go give me a copy of all my mail and download it to my computer. So by downloading the mail, it takes up room on your computer, okay? But the best thing is it archives it on your computer. You can do settings where it doesn't have to do that, but that's in general how mail works. So it goes, the computer calls out and says, go give me a copy and bring it down here. With Comcast, SureWest, some of the other settings, you can have something that says leave it there for 30 days because I want to pick it up on my other computer or I want to see it on my iPhone. So it stays there. You've brought a copy, and then after 30 days it might go away from the server because you need room on it. That's a kind of an old protocol. But on your iPhone and your iPad, your iOS device, you're simply looking at the server from afar. And when you tap on that email, then it fills it with that email. But really, that goes away when you go off the email. If you ever noticed, you tap on an email, go back and look at another one. If you tap back to that other email, it has to fill in on your screen again because it doesn't live on that device. You're peering into it, and it's a beautiful implementation of it because our iOS devices have less memory. We don't need to archive them, and consequently, there's nothing compelling to make you want to delete anything off your iPhone. Because if I delete something off my iPhone, really, I'm not really deleting anything. I'm just deleting those 3 lines that you see on the screen. And if I do that, if there's still stuff on the email server, it'll come in behind it. So you're not gaining any ground. So a person like me who has 86,000 emails on my Google, I'll just bring an old one in behind. Now, I used to think I was a hoarder till I watched one of those shows. And now it was reassuring to me because when I see those shows, like, nah, I'm no problem. I got those people. I got nothing on those people. So my feeling is if I delete an email, I know I'm going to need it. So did that answer that okay? And is that any specific questions on that? Because again, the iOS device goes and just looks at the server, and then you can view that, but it doesn't necessarily stay on your device. But you can usually go back in and get it as long as you have an internet connection. On your Mac, it downloads it to the Mac. Okay?
Well, I got a notice from the iCloud or whoever.
It's too full.
That it was too full and I could buy more.
Okay.
I was getting that on a device.
You could buy more, and you were too full. So go watch the Hoarders movie. No.
But my computer didn't say it was too full. My phone.
It won't. So the iCloud storage, and we'll have iCloud classes again because we have some new stuff coming up. But what happens is your computer backs up itself, or your iPhone or iPad can back up to the cloud. Your iCloud storage is one big pot, and it covers, not your photo stream, don't worry about photos, but it covers if you're backing up your iPad or your iPhone to iCloud, that takes up space. But the mail on iCloud takes up room, and you may have to go in and delete some things off your iCloud. And where you might want to go in is go to iCloud.com, log into your mail, and if you see a bunch of stuff in the trash or old stuff, you can delete things, and that will free up some space. While we're talking about space, and then I'll go back to the other questions, iCloud will be new this fall with Yosemite and iOS 8. It's called iCloud Drive. And the beauty of it is, you were getting 5 gigabytes for free, but you had to pay $40 to get 20 gigabytes extra. Now what they're doing is, the first 5 gigabytes is free. There won't be a 10 gigabyte plan. This is not per month, this is yearly. $1.99 a month for 20 gigabytes. And what happens is, how many here use Dropbox? Dropbox is great. They give you 2 gigabytes for free. If you whore yourself out like me and send all these referrals out, you get up to 16 gigabytes of free storage if you've done referrals, but they only have one plan. It's $100 or $100 a year for like 40 gigs or something, which is crazy. They need an intermediate model. iCloud Drive will obviate the need to have Dropbox. It's what we call Sherlocking Dropbox. Now, the prices are very good there. So here at 200 gigabytes, what is it, $4.99 or $3.99 a month, something like that? Yeah, $3.99 a month. So iCloud Drive will also be storage. Right now, it's really more for syncing and mail only, but it will start to have more things. And believe it or not, you'll be able to use iCloud Drive as an alternate way of backing up, because I always preach backups with Time Machine and stuff. This will allow you to do offsite storage, and it's really cool. So let's go back to mail first, then I'll come back to iCloud. So there were some questions about how mail worked, I think, Keith?
Oh, I have a question about iCloud.
Okay.
A few days ago, I purchased a new iPad.
Mm-hmm.
The contacts on my computer and my phone are backed up automatically to each other. The iPad doesn't know anything exists. Everything is blank on contacts.
Okay.
How do I register it, or?
You have to make sure, go into your computer and your existing iPhone and go into settings, go to iCloud and make sure it's the exact same username, and obviously you'll have to put a password in, and then those contacts are up in the cloud, and what'll happen is they'll cross-pollinate.
I have to do that on my computer.
No. Well, find out on your computer what your iCloud Apple ID is. We all sometimes have multiple Apple IDs, but you just need to verify your iCloud one.
Okay.
And that's the beauty of iCloud is, if you log in with your iCloud ID, it'll download everything, including your apps and everything else. So, question, go ahead.
Not Dropbox. The only reason I've ever used Dropbox is to share files that are too big to email.
Exactly.
Is there another way to do it besides Dropbox?
Well, Dropbox is perfect for that, and in fact, in your situation, you probably need the cross-platform to the PC also. So the beauty of Dropbox is it can go cross-platform, but also the beauty with Dropbox is I can put a file on Dropbox, and I can pick it up on my iPad or my iPhone or even on an Android device.
Through an app or something?
It's the app in there, yeah, and it doesn't, so kind of like the mail, if you look at Dropbox on your iPad, you can all be worried that your Dropbox folder is really full. No, really what happens is you're able to view your Dropbox folder, and then you only say download this specific document that you need. So Dropbox is wonderful. iCloud Drive, indications are iCloud Drive will also be cross-platform to PC like it is here. Jim, we've got a stool up here if you need. You got a chair there? Okay, good.
No, I'm.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to get on Wi-Fi.
Uh-huh.
Do I get on Fireside E26?
Fireside E26, and it's the church's, I can pull it up for you in a minute. It's the phone number for the church. If somebody has an iPhone, they can look up. I'll pull it up for you in a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Bart?
Back in the day when they had AppMe and then iCloud,
Mm-hmm.
did they do away with AppMe or did it merge into the iCloud, or I'm a little fuzzy on that?
All right, so back in the day, play the old-timey song or something here to go there. We started out with .Mac. So if you had a .Mac account, free for life, right? Well, then they went through some gyrations. I remember Apple wasn't really sound financially back then, which if you think about it, look at the turnabout since back then. I mean, Apple now could give away everything they want and it wouldn't affect their bottom line a bit. But back then it was .Mac, or Ken Spencer at Mac.com, which I still haven't used. But then what happened is, with the iOS devices, they wanted to make it cross-platform, and they knew a Windows user wouldn't want to have a .Mac account. Now, in his dreams he did, really, but he probably didn't want to use .Mac. So it became, you could use .me or .Mac interchangeably, and we still can. And then what happened is, because Mobile Me wasn't really the be-all, end-all, it wasn't great, they decided to roll it out as iCloud.com, a little bit more descriptive. So I can be Ken Spencer at Mac.com, Ken Spencer at me.com, and Ken Spencer at iCloud.com. So I'm Sybil all over the place. I'm like, split personalities and all that. But if you have a .me, you can continue to use it. The .Mac will continue to use it. And the iCloud is free to everyone. And an iCloud account can get you mail, but a lot of times you just get an iCloud account for all your syncing.
Are they actually different accounts?
No. There's certain sign-ins where it may be a problem, but generally speaking, they're essentially aliases of the same thing.
Maybe that's why I might have some duplication.
No, it's probably some other grouping and stuff like that. So,
when you're shooting stuff up to the cloud, are you shooting files, or are you making a folder in that iCloud that you can then retrieve it?
So, good question. So he asks is what you're sending up to the cloud. First of all, we talk about space you need for iCloud. Your addresses, your contacts and your calendar and all that stuff, that takes up such an insignificant amount because data, text data, is minuscule. If you're using, so right now there's really no iCloud folder or anything like that because we need to get rid of the thought of using folders. Do we have folders on our iOS device? No. We have folders on our Mac, and at some day, file hierarchy is probably going to go away because you have such good search capabilities. Don't overcomplicate iCloud. It goes up there, and if I have a Keynote document on the cloud, and I open Keynote, and I click on Cloud, it will show me all my Keynote documents. Do I need to see the Pages documents if I'm in Keynote? So who cares? Now, with iCloud Drive, you'll be able to have a little bit more control over the file hierarchy because it becomes more like Dropbox at that point. Okay?
A couple of questions. You keep saying iCloud Drive, and I see Google Drive up there. Is iCloud Drive and Google Drive, are they different things, or is there a separate iCloud Drive coming?
Great question. So, right now the default, because they were one of the first ones to come out with, so we've had iCloud, the existing iCloud for a while, that didn't give you a place to store stuff. It really only gave you a place, well, to store Keynote and Numbers documents and Pages documents, but not a place to throw files. Okay? iCloud Drive, it says iCloud there, but it should say iCloud Drive. iCloud Drive is the new implementation of it in the fall with iOS 8 and macOS 10.10 Yosemite will integrate with it, and they'll be tied into the operating system, so they'll be very smooth. They'll be smooth. Dropbox is very smooth, but they'll be smoother than Dropbox. Dropbox was the first one to get very popular because they offered 2 gigabytes of space for free. And back in the day, that was a lot, but we all found out how quick we can fill up 2 gigabytes. So they offered, if you hook, and they wanted everybody to load their, it's a little thing pops up and says, well, load your photos up to Dropbox so you can fill your Dropbox up really quick, so you have to buy more space. So they teased you with, initially they said, well, we'll give you 3 gigabytes of extra space. Like that's going to last. So here is Dropbox, 100 gigabytes for $100. It was reasonable. I have a feeling their prices will change a bit because I think Dropbox wants to still be a player in this. Apple offered to buy Dropbox, according to the rumors, a few years ago. Now, Google Drive is the reaction to Dropbox. So when you have a Google account, a Gmail account, you are able to do documents, spreadsheets, word processing, PowerPoint, type documents, presentations. And that's all part of Google Drive. And you get 15 gigabytes for free on Google Drive. You can buy more. I have a client that has, beyond this, This client has a huge, his iTunes library is 110 gigabytes. And iTunes Match didn't work for him, but what we set up is a very unique situation. I've never seen it implemented anywhere is, he has his work computer, his iMac, and his home laptop. And this guy, he's a collector of music. I mean, he has a ton of music. He has the world's largest collection of backstage passes in the world. And just amazing. But his music, he curates his music very well. He has great playlists. But his big thing is he wanted to always have his recently played or play, you know how the play count is on iTunes? He wanted to have that sync between all his devices. And the only way I could do it without hauling a little hard drive back and forth is we bought him 200 gigabytes of iCloud, Google Drive space, and I parked his iTunes library and his iPhoto library on his computer and in a spot in the cloud, and then it synced with his computer at home. So now, when he opens up iTunes, they can't both be open at the same time, but when he opens up iTunes or iPhotos on his home computer, it will update everything and come down there and go back and forth, and it works perfectly. So that's Google Drive. But now we think it's going to be able to go up to 1 terabyte of storage with iDrive, possibly. iCloud Drive, excuse me. There is a company called iDrive. So what this is going to do is going to give you some good options, but it also will be a place where you could start storing other files if you need to. Now, just brief, go ahead.
And sharing like we do.
Yeah, great point. So we talked about, Dropbox is great because you can send a big file to someone because you're not sending the file, you're just sending to a little link. Yes, you'll be able to do that, which we currently can do with iPhoto sharing or PhotoStream sharing is the same way. You don't email 10 photos because it's too big. What you do is you put them up on your iCloud, your PhotoStream, and then people download it from there. So you're only sending them a little link, and that's been the beauty of Dropbox. iCloud Drive will do the same thing. And that brings up PhotoStream. We're probably all using it. That doesn't, it's up to 1,000 photos, but it does not go against your iCloud storage space. Your 1,000 photos that are up in the PhotoStream are free and in addition, but they max out at 1,000. Okay? Again, the takeaway here is the device puts whatever it is up to the cloud, no matter whose cloud it is. It's the curator, and then it brings and puts it back down to the other devices. Okay? Any questions on that before we move on to mail? Good. I hope this kind of gets a grasp of it because it's tough to wrap your head around it, but it's really pretty simple. So think of it as a whole nother computer that you own that somebody else maintains for you. And if the power goes out, they've got backup power, diesel generators, all kinds of stuff. Okay? And that's it. So I want to show you briefly how to go and get So go to kenspencer.com. It's written right here. If you go to kenspencer.com, I'll point out one thing first. If you go here where it says Mac Sheets, Mac Sheets, and you click on this is a PDF of where you can store your passwords and then also all your Macintosh keyboard shortcuts. And if you open this in preview, like by clicking, see right here, if I open this in preview, I can actually go in here and start typing right in the PDF. Okay, I could fill these things out, but to be honest, it's a lot easier to do with a pen. Or a pencil because you're probably going to erase and change and stuff. But that brings up passwords. And if we go back to my page and go here where it says classes, today's class and all the other classes I do are recorded here. I do some classes in different places, but if you go to the archive, you'll go down here, and I think I have a passwords class that we did right in here. Where is it? There it is, MacNexus password class. So these are simple YouTube videos. Look, they're completely unedited because if I had to edit them, they'd never get up there. I basically take what's being recorded on my screen, and with our interaction, and you see what you see on this is what you see on the video, and it's usually in 2 parts because you guys are all going to remind me to turn the recording off when we take our break. Okay? All right. Let's dig into mail. And after mail, we're going to cover the internet and Safari some too. So, now, who here does not have an iOS device, iPhone or iPad? Come on, it's okay. Okay, good. So, their mail is becoming very similar on both devices. But if there's a specific question as I'm going along, let me know. I can bring up the iOS device to show it too. But it's a little easier. Then there's some features you can do in Mail on the Mac that you can't do on the other devices. All right. Okay. So, who doesn't use the little postage stamp Apple Mail, or on their iOS device, the little envelope? If you don't use it, if you use your web browser to go to your mail, does anybody do that?
Who doesn't understand your question?
Okay. No, that's great. So when you go to get your mail, what do you touch? What do you go? Do you use a browser, Safari?
Somebody set up, so I just click on Gmail at the top of it says Google, at the top it says Gmail.
Great. So her thing is somebody set up, so she goes to Google, she goes that. So let's show you that. I'm going to go into gmail.com. So that's what you would do, is you come in and you see like this, right?
Yeah, that's what it's.
We're talking about phones, though, not computers, right?
Both.
Okay.
Both. On the phone, you can also use Safari to go see it, but on the phone there's a Gmail app, and there's also the Apple Mail app, which we'll show in a second there. So, is there anyone else that uses a browser like Safari, forget Gmail, whether it's Comcast, whether it's SureWest, is there anybody else that's going to a browser and going to that website, and that's how you're getting your mail?
Like Yahoo?
Yeah, well, unfortunately Yahoo, yes. Sometimes, but you know the other?
But if it's on the dock, you got the postage. What do? Click once and there it is.
Right.
Geez, it's simple.
Yep. So let's talk about the differences quick. So remember I said in the cloud, going to the post office. When you log into Comcast.net or CCI now for SureWest or Yahoo.com, problem is you sign into Yahoo.com, you have so many ads, it will basically take over your computer. I've had people's computer just not be able to function. Yahoo's the worst. Gmail's the best. But if I sign into Gmail in a browser, it's the equivalent to walking to the post office and looking in my box. I'm directly looking at that server. Okay? Now, that means I can delete something here, I can forward here, I can do whatever I want within the browser, but it's not archived on my computer, and if I don't have internet, I can't see my mail that way. I can't see previous mail because I'm depending on the internet. I'm using the internet to go in and drill into the post office. Now, if you're used to it, I'm not going to try recreate your workflow, but I'm going to try make life easier for you if you're doing it this way by simply going to the postage stamp in your dock, and it says mail, and I'm clicking on that, and now this comes up in Apple Mail. And it's simple to set it up. All you do is the first time you fire up Apple Mail, it says, hey, you need to set up an account, and you put in your Gmail address, and this is where you got to remember your password, put in your Gmail password, and it will configure it for you. The beauty of this is it's integrated with all the programs on my Mac, which we're really going to show. And today's class is about mail. So if at the end of today's class on mail you're not intrigued and you're not using mail, I've not done my job right. So anybody, can anybody give me a compelling reason why not to use mail and to go directly in at this point? Other than it's what you're used to, and that's fine.
Let me ask a clarifying question first, which is, so if you have two, like I've got a Gmail and a Comcast, and I get both of them through this.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
And multiple. You can get multiple ones, and that's kind of the beauty of this. This becomes, in other words, at your house you get FedEx, UPS, and United States Postal Service and all that. They all come to your house. This is your house. I get it from all my mail providers in one application. And I can click on either one of these, like here's my iCloud mail, here's a Gmail account for another business, and here's my inbox, which is the compilation of all of those accounts. I have 6 accounts I could have there. Todd?
So, prior to buying this new Mac last week, which I barely turned on, I had company, PC, iPhone, iPad.
Right.
You said something about when you go to the internet way of looking at it, that it doesn't download to your computer. If you open it through Outlook,
Correct.
it does then archive to your computer, right?
Exactly. Well, Outlook can be set to have it archived to your computer, or as simply just looking like the iPhone does, where it's only looking at the server, and if you're disconnected, your mail may not show up in mail.
So it's an Exchange server, whatever. It's still stored somewhere else.
It's stored somewhere else, but it's a setting as to whether you actually download the copy of the mail or you're simply looking at your mail is a setting that they can do in Outlook, and in fact, it's a setting you can do in Mail. But what this is called, Outlook and Apple Mail are called Mail clients, M-A-I-L, not to be confused with Mail clients.
Okay, so I think all these years, because I've had the iPhone since it first came out, and all these years, I always thought that when I clicked on the mail thing, because I do use the little mail thing on the Apple, I always just thought of it, oh, I'm going to Outlook on my phone, but I wasn't.
You're using the equivalent of Outlook on your phone.
But so
Outlook is the program, just like Mail is the program on the phone and on here. And just like Outlook, it's a program, and you're viewing it. You can on your phone. First of all, you could download a Gmail app or whatever. Yours isn't Gmail, but you could also go from your browser on your iOS device and go to your Exchange server.
Good.
Without that. But it's a heck of a lot easier to use a mail client, whether it be Outlook or whether it be Mail. Now, his situation is unique. He's been using Outlook a long time. I don't encourage anyone to use Outlook if they haven't been using it. Apple Mail is better.
So now with the Mac, it would actually be using the same program on all three. If I use Apple Mail here, it's the same thing that I'm using on the phone and the app.
Correct. The only problem for you is, and that's why we put Outlook on yours, was because you're used to the hierarchy and the folder scheduling and stuff in Outlook, but that all comes over to Mail. And you can run them concurrently. One won't affect the other. They're both Mail clients. It's kind of like I can use Firefox to get on the internet, or I can use Safari to get on the internet. You can use them both. The problem is when you send something, well, it will because you're on Exchange servers, so you're fine.
Yeah, just like you can really have that Mail or Outlook on as many different computers as you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just put in the settings and it downloads.
Yep. And whether it downloads or not is a setting that would be probably controlled on the server side in Exchange. Sorry, we got a little in the weeds there, but
I'm a little confused, and this may be the same thing, but when I travel and I don't have my equipment, my computer or whatever, and I have...
God forbid.
I know.
What, are you going to Siberia? Come on. What year is this?
Greece.
Wait, you have an iPhone though, right?
Yeah, but I have to log on to 3 different servers because I have 3 different email accounts, right?
If you're on someone else's computer or on your stuff?
Yeah. Somebody else.
Yes, because you wouldn't want to use if they have Outlook or Mail, you wouldn't want to use theirs because it would require you to put your name and your password in, and then they can respond to your emails all they want and have fun. But if you're traveling internationally and you have your iPhone, you don't want to pay those huge international fees. So if you're on a computer, that location probably has Wi-Fi. So put your your phone in airplane mode and then switch on Wi-Fi and use your regular old Mail client. It doesn't matter if you're in South America, if you're in Mozambique, or if you're in San Francisco. It doesn't care. It will get your email for you because you're connected to the internet.
Okay, assuming I have my phone. If the phone is...
Well, come on. That's a hard assumption.
No, you weren't on this trip. But anyway.
It was a pirate trip, and there were Somalis on there.
But I have have the same limitation then. I do have to go into each of those accounts, like Google, and then I have to go into the university account, and then I have to go. So I'm doing that, but that, you said there's a limit to what I can do. Mainly, it's just reading my.
No, it's not I mean, it's just, it's not really.
I can't archive it, or I can't.
Well, no. So if you delete something there and when you go back home, what you deleted won't show up because you didn't check your mail in the meantime.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I hope it was a good trip. And did you go through withdrawal, not having these devices? But then she talks about going to a computer, so I don't know. Yeah.
On that international trip, do you need a converter for the voltage to charge your iPhone?
No, you don't need a converter, you need an adapter only.
Just the end.
Because all your Apple devices are set up to do 240 and 120, and all you need to do is have the correct pins. You don't need to have that, and it works. My recommendation when you travel is take yourself a little power strip, and then get the little piece you need on the end, because you can plug in your Mac, you can plug in your iPhone using your regular plugs in the power strip, and the power strip goes to there, because all your Apple adapters, because they're converting it from AC to DC, are set up to go international. Okay? I should travel more, probably. What? Oh, sorry. Hang on. Yes, it is. See, where we're like her trip, where we're having an intervention here where E20.
It's 916-483-7848.
916-483-7848.
Thank you.
It's the same for E25.
They're all the same. 783-7848?
7848.
So if you do go down to triage in the class, we've got the router set up. So the password's the same on all of them, but you have to log in from one or the other when you get there. It was a way to do this to make it stronger in there. So thanks. I'm sorry I forgot that. All right. So we're going to use the Apple Mail client at this point. And what I want to point out is when you get it new, at the very top here, you don't have so Apple, Apple likes to be minimalist. And our eyes pick up color and shapes really well, right? That's been tested. So Apple decided to make all of the icons the same shape and make them all gray. So I've been around a long time and I still don't know what all of them mean. So the first thing I do in Mail is I go up here and I control-click, two-finger click on a computer or right-click and say icon and text. Now, you didn't have to pay extra to get the words in there, so I don't know why Apple didn't put that on to begin with. And the thing is, you need to do it on every window. When you do new message, it comes without it also. It's icon only, so I'm going to click icon and text. Okay, this only applies on the Mac. It doesn't apply. Unfortunately, on the iPad, you don't get this choice. You just get the icons. Go ahead.
Other than see the screen change, I saw nothing that happened. I don't know what you did.
I go up to the, okay, let's show you how it was from the factory. Look at my icons up here.
Okay.
They're just icons.
Yes.
Can anybody tell me what that icon means?
No.
So if I hit Control, click, and turn it into, now I see new message. Okay? That's the first thing you do in Mail. Go ahead.
I have a Yahoo account. I've got a PC at home. I'm assuming Apple Mail cannot work on a PC.
No, you're right.
It works on iPad, iPhone.
Right, it's a client. They have their own on a PC called Outlook, but if you haven't used it, don't start.
If I go to MacNexus, does my password, does my email change?
No. So let's go back to our kind of cloud scenario. when you go on your PC or your Mac, if you use a browser, a web browser, Internet Explorer on the PC, Chrome, Firefox, or Safari, if you go to that, you're going directly to the post office into the server, and that's all your mail right there. Whatever you do is direct. The mail client is Apple Mail. You're sitting at your house, and it goes to the post office for you and brings you a copy of the mail. Like in his case, he can have Outlook and Apple Mail running, no problem, and he can still go into Safari and look at his mail on the server. One doesn't hurt the other, and realistically, you could have a bunch of them checking it at the same time. If you feel like you're not getting enough email, go ahead and do a bunch of clients, and then you'll have the same message everywhere you want. That's a good question, but yeah, and I really diss on Yahoo because. Well, okay. I'm gonna put rant on here for a second. There's a couple things that I think are very important for you. I mean, just like Apple is concerned about you as the user. I'm concerned about you as the user, and I want you to have the best experience you can because it shouldn't be a pain in the butt. You shouldn't have to put up with a lot of this stuff. First of all, if you have Yahoo, or you have ATT, SBC, Yahoo, or any of the iterations of Yahoo, I'm not saying you have to give that up. It's the email address you've had forever. I don't want to lose it. That's fine. But going forward, you should establish a Gmail account. Because first of all, Gmail gives you a lot of space, and Gmail interacts with all your devices quite well. And Yahoo's business, or AT&T's business, is not to do email. And they don't do it well. I get that pop up all the time. Hey, you got to connect. You get the lost your password, need to fill in, all that. I'm sorry, it's a pain in the butt. I also had a client who had the old lampshade style iMac. Remember the ones with the snowball on the base? When AT&T installed their DSL there, they put on the little thing where that's where Safari goes right away to Yahoo homepage. The computer was unusable when it went to the Yahoo homepage, because there's so much crap going on around there. I say unusable. The spinning beach ball would not go away. The computer didn't have the power because of so much crap that page was feeding up. The only way around it is I had to disconnect the computer from the internet, then fire up Safari, because as soon as I fired up Safari, it tried to go to Yahoo. But if I'm out on the internet, I can get it to fire up, and they went and changed their home page to not be Yahoo, and they can use their computer all they want. So that's how bad that page is. It really will slow your computer down because of all that ad and stuff. So, but besides that, they're not a good email server. So Gmail is free. You can have multiple Gmail accounts. The other part of this rant is, if you're using the email that your internet service provider provides you for free, you should start using an alternative. Keep that if you want, but if you're on SureWest, if you're on Comcast, which they all work fine, stop using that, because, first of all, as we get older, we may have to go to a retirement community. And if you're on SureWest, SureWest may not be offered there. If you're on Comcast, it may not be offered there. Or what if I decide to get in the internet business, Ken and Bob's Internet, and I come up to you and say, I can give you 3 times the speed for 1/3 of the price. You'd be a fool not to take the deal. But, well, you know, I've had that Comcast email for so long, I don't want to give it up. Because as soon as you quit Comcast, you quit getting email from them. So, if you make that transition, you become portable. You're not held hostage to your internet service provider because you've been using their email forever. Break loose of that. Free at last. Get an email that's not tied into an internet service provider. Because that's not Comcast first business. That's not SureWest first business. They do email because that's the way it's always been done. ISPs offering emails. Now, you can also set it up so your SureWest email or your Comcast email gets forwarded over to a Gmail account. So you don't have to touch anything. But I'm not saying abandon it, because you have a lot of people that have that old address. You don't have to get rid of it. Just start using something newer. Lou?
As a dish subscriber, they've been pushing to get their internet connection. Will email go through that connection too?
Okay, the question was, email will go through any internet connection. Okay? So yeah, Dish is trying. They've been trying real hard to become a player in this, and there's some stuff on the horizon. I mean, right now it's a duopoly between the cell phone or the wire phone companies and the cable companies, and we need some competition in this. But that's the whole thing is Google is rolling out their fiber service in many towns that has 1 gigabyte of service, speed beyond what you could ever use. And so if that comes and they come to your house and say, I can do this for $5 less than you're currently paying on Comcast, wouldn't you want to do it? And therefore, if you've stopped using your Comcast email address, you can change when it happens. Please don't try to untie yourself from your internet service provider.
So when you're using this analogy of going to the post office versus your computer, when you talk about configuring email accounts and or IMAP accounts, and what are the advantages of one versus the other?
All right. So we're going to get a little geeky for a second, but I think it's important, and I'm glad you brought it up, because it essentially follows through with exactly what I was saying is, if I have a Comcast account, it's what's called POP mail, which was the old way to do it. SureWest is the same. And what that means is, now we all have multiple devices. So if it's a POP account, my Mac goes in and checks the mail, and it shows I checked it on my Mac. But on my iPhone and my iPad, it looks like I never read it. It doesn't look like I replied or anything because it's dumb. It's like a one-way connection. So Gmail, and actually Yahoo does now too, and with struggles it does it on SureWest, but I don't encourage it, have what's called IMAP. And now that we have multiple devices, I want to log in to my Mac and see that I replied to the email on my iPad, or just that I replied to that email. I want them all in sync because this is the 21st century and we should be able to do that. And it's important because if you have an IMAP account, it mirrors what you're doing. Your devices don't sync together, but they're kind of communicating on the cloud and saying, yeah, you replied to this already. Thank goodness I don't have all those little blue dots anymore. And that's an IMAP account, okay? That comes with Gmail. Comes with some others too, and some of the ISPs will do it. You're on Exchange Server. If you're on Exchange Server, it's essentially an IMAP account on steroids. It does the same thing. Bart?
So that's why when I would delete mail, let's say on my iPad.
First of all, you shouldn't.
No.
There's no need to delete mail on your iPad or your iPhone. It does nothing.
But I noticed that this is back a while that I would go onto my desktop computer and go onto the web browser page. It wouldn't be deleted.
Right. The deletion thing is a little weird, especially on Gmail. That's the only one thing that Gmail does a little weird implementation of IMAP. It doesn't necessarily do it. Because remember, here's what Gmail says, and they're giving you a ton of space. They're saying you should never have to delete anything at all because it's all archived for you. And to be honest, I like that. If I need to go back and find an email, I can. I can keep my computer clean, but I can always go back in and get it. But what happens is the deletion doesn't necessarily work. It might archive it. It might do that. But it's a weird implementation of it. But again, coming from the guy that has 38,000 unread messages. And 68,000. Actually, what happens is I have one account. I have an email that forwards to an account, so I read it in one account, but it doesn't show it did it in the other. So those aren't all unread. You notice it's about half of them. But I have 68,000 messages there. If I bring up my phone, my phone's a little less now, but I went over 100,000. So, and it didn't break the internet. Go ahead, Todd.
You just said something about not deleting things on the iPhone. I'm a little confused. After I might get 100 emails and 30 or 40 of them are spam or junk. I don't care about. The first thing I do is go to the all inboxes on the iPhone, which gets all 300 emails. And the ones that are junk, obviously, I just click, trash, and they're gone. And they disappear not only from the phone, but also from my Outlook.
Yes, because you're on Exchange Server.
Well, I'm IMAP which is Gmail, which is
So your Gmail,
operates like Exchange server, and the other two are Exchange servers. Yes.
and it will if your Gmail account is configured that way. It didn't used to be, but they are doing that now. So I didn't want to get in the weeds too much, but but again, on the iPhone, you're not gaining any room. You're cleaning up a little, yes.
I don't want to look at it.
Yeah. Okay. So Apple Mail, I want to show go ahead.
I am so confused. My phone, like this lady behind me, says I don't have enough iCloud, I have to clear this phone, and you keep saying you don't have to clear it. And I don't get it.
That space the space on your phone that says it's full is not from Mail.
From pictures and things, or what?
Yeah, I'll pull my phone up and show you how to find that.
I
So
thought it was from maybe those icon things that what do you call those icon things? Apps. I thought it was, I had to.
let's go show you how to find out what's taking up room on your phone. So I go to Settings. This applies on your iPad also. So go to Settings, the gray gear. Come down to General. And come down to Usage. So Settings, General, and Usage. And it'll take a while. I have a 32 gig phone that's almost full. So it takes a minute. Yours will probably go faster than mine because I have a lot of stuff on mine. So again, Settings, General, Usage. This will tell you the story of what's going on in your phone. I'll see if I can bring my iPad up. All right. Does everybody have theirs up? Except for me? Does it tell you what's your top one?
What do you mean the top?
Are you what's the worst offender?
You mean like voicemail is 76.7?
Megabytes, that's nothing. That's the top one. Let me take a look at your phone. Oh. Photos, your photos are taking up 8.4 gigabytes. It's your photos. Should be but I know it's not come up yet on mine. Because I have a lot of stuff. You have 2.7 gigabytes available. And what it is, are you trying to do the upgrade and won't let you? Is it saying there's not enough room? Your only offender is photos. Look at photos, 8 gigabytes right there. You have. I don't want to say you have too many photos, but you need to offload or delete some of those photos to clear up room. So if you'll notice, Mail isn't there anywhere, is it? And that's why I want to show you on mine with 86,000 emails. Once it comes up, you're going to see that there's it's not taking up any space at all because the emails don't live here. Okay. Your phone is probably a 16 gigabyte. A gigabyte is 1,000 megabytes, and you had, 6.4 gigabytes of iPhone. So if you look at it in perspective, that's over half of your phone is being taken up with photos. And that's okay, and it can be photos and videos. If you have any long videos take up a ton of room versus that. Many of you will have songs. You'll have a lot of iTunes that takes it up. So, we'll come back to this. We'll let it do its thing. And
I mean, I've got bought iCloud storage and I didn't know, and I still have a lot. I said I have 19 gigabytes now, and 25, but my music says I've got 5.0 gigabytes. And I moved.
yeah, and that would be an iTunes class.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering, can you bring videos down from the cloud and not store them in your iPhone?
Yes, depending on what kind of videos they are. If they're videos from iTunes, you can. You could also store them on Dropbox if you have Dropbox, or in the fall with iCloud Drive, you could store them there, and then you only bring them down when you need them.
Some I take myself.
The videos you took with the phone?
Yes.
So you would, if you want to store those, you should get them over to your computer.
Okay.
And you do that by plugging it in and syncing it with iTunes, and then those will go over to your iPhoto library. We talked about PhotoStream. All your photos go up to PhotoStream and then come down to your computer, but your videos don't because they're so large.
But can you take them on your iPhone and then deliver them to your iMac?
Only through the cable.
Your desktop computer.
Only
Go
through,
to the cloud.
only through the cable.
And back down to the
No. In the fall, you'll be able to. Yeah, there's a new thing called Theater where you'll be able to do that, and you'll be able to pick them up on your Apple TV too. So you'll be able to do that. Okay? Ah, my phone finally came up. Hang on. So, photos and cameras, podcasts. You don't see mail on there anywhere, right? There, 158 megabytes. Essentially, that's the program. That's really no data. That's the program itself. Okay? So, I drained the photos on here recently. My podcasts, I listen to a lot of audio podcasts, very few video podcasts, but I keep those on here, so I've always got that with me. And yeah, so you know, I've got, it's pretty full, but it's really, here's why it's probably really full. If we go down here and we look how many applications I have on my phone. Do I win? And I'm such a cheap person, virtually every one of those is free. Except the ones I paid for, I got them for 20% off. Because when the gift cards are on sale, I buy them from I buy the iTunes gift cards when they're 20% off. So you too can save 20% on all your iTunes purchases. Fry's, Wednesday and Thursday, had them for 20% off. Back there first.
So if we have camera roll and photo screen, which should I clear out?
How big's your photo stream? What's it say?
It says 1,000.
But it does.
It's 7
GB or MB?
and on the,
I think it's 7 gigabytes.
7 gigabytes.
so I clearly need to clear out something, but they duplicate each other.
Well, okay, so what happens when you take a picture with your iPhone? It also puts it on the photo stream. 7 gigs total, or is 7 gigs just for your photo stream?
Photos and camera.
Yeah, but your photo stream isn't 7 gigabytes.
One. My camera roll is 6.
Yeah,
And if they're on, if I took them on my camera roll, they're also on the photo screen.
temporarily.
How long?
Apple says up to 30 days in your 1,000 most recent photos. They can stay longer than 30 days, but definitely not more than 1,000 photos. Mine, I get GIF. Mine seems to reset at 999 photos. It won't let me get that 1,000th photo in there for some reason.
Is there a way to save those besides emailing them to yourself?
From your photo stream?
Yeah. Well, so that they don't go away.
All right, we're going to veer off of mail a little bit because this is important stuff, so sorry. But when I take a picture with my iPhone or my iPad, don't think of this as an iPhone. Don't think of it as a computer. Think of it as a digital camera. When I take this picture with this digital camera, it's stored on the memory card. It stays on here unless I physically delete it.
How do you delete it?
There's a couple ways, but hang on. So it stays on here till I physically delete it. And it also sends a copy to the photo stream. Now, if I have it turned on here and turned on here, my Macintosh will go to the photo stream and download all my photos from photo stream to here. So as long as I don't exceed 1,000 photos before I fire this up, they'll all go to here, and this will archive them. But it doesn't remove them from here. The way you remove photos from here is you go into the photos, hit edit, and you tap and select the ones you want to delete, or if you hook it up to your computer, and it'll make sure everything gets loaded up to iPhoto, and then you have the option of saying delete photos on here. Okay? We have wonderful iPhoto classes where we can go over all of that for you. And to be honest, you can Google it too and find out how to do it. But remember, if you took the picture with this, it stays on this until you delete it. It's a camera. That being said, I could hook the cable up to somebody else's computer, Mac or PC, and upload my photos to their computer. Because what is it? It's a digital camera. And does anyone know what the best camera in the world is? Come on. The one you have with you. When I have my big Canon with me, that's the best camera, but most of the time I have this, and this is the best camera. Use this thing. And you can check mail in the meantime. All right. Getting back to mail. So setting up an account is quite easy. It walks you right through it. I'll just show you briefly how to do that. So if we go to Preferences, under Mail, Preferences, and then go to Accounts, right there. And I simply hit the plus sign, and it shows you, well, which kind of account do you want to set up? Now, we talked about having a Gmail account. You have to have the Gmail account first before you can set it up here. So you simply go to gmail.com and set up a Google account. Remember your password. Also, if you have a phone that you get text messages on, it will ask you to put in your text message for your phone or your number for your phone, and that will give you a little code. And the nice thing about that is if you ever lose your password, they know that your phone is your trusted device, so they can go and give you a code back. So don't be afraid to put that in when you go to Google. Now, nobody's raised the security and the privacy concerns yet, right? Nobody cares? Look, Google discloses what they disclose. No, most of the other places don't disclose it. So believe me, it's pretty darn good. Now, do they read your email? No. Do you get ads? If you email somebody about a Chevy Volt, yeah, you're going to see some ads in there about Chevy Volt. Not in your email, but if you go to gmail.com. In Apple Mail, you won't see those ads. They're not going to just willy-nilly send you email ads. Other people will. And on that regard, Gmail has the best spam filter that there is. They get more mail than anyone, so they can filter that spam pretty well, because if they see 30,000 messages about this little blue pill from one person, they know that's spam, and they're going to kick it into spam. Okay? So, we're going to go into compose a message right there. New message. And I'm going to show, remember we didn't have our little icons up here, but if we look across the top, you would have this. These two features I'm going to show you right now, three features I'm going to show you right now do not apply to the iPhone. We're going to do compose on the iPhone in a minute. But if I go across here and I hit format, oh, hang on. If I go across here and hit format, I get this little formatting bar, which is great. So now if I have something in my body and I want to change the color to magenta, or if I want to change the text, it's all right there. Now, every time I fire up this new message, once I've disclosed it, it's always going to be there. And you hit format to open or close it, just leave it open. Don't go crazy with formatting your email, because not everybody will be able to see all this fancy formatting. Depends on their email client. The PC people are a little bit, sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. So, the other thing, I'm going to start to address this email. I'm narcissistic, so I'll send it to myself. So I start typing. Let's see. Yeah, I have more emails than that. Don't keep typing if what you're looking for is in the pull-down list, because inevitably you're going to mistype it, and then the next time you go, it's going to try bring up the mistyped one. Oh, yeah, I see the head nod. We all been there. Hint of the day is going to show you how to fix that. So, I'm going to go in here, and so I would just pick from one of these. That's like my old. Wow, can't believe it's still in my book. All right, so I'm going to send an email to abc123.com. And that's not who I was trying to send it to. I was trying to send it to abc123@mac.com. But I've sent the email, so it's in my list. So, have we all done that? We type in somebody's name and we see it's a bad address. There's two ways to get rid of it. First is, I hover over the little disclosure triangle, and I say, remove from previous recipients list. I'm not going to do it yet because I'm going to go up here to window and look at previous recipients. And now I have a list of my previous recipients. I'm sorry if some of you guys' names are in here. I apologize. But so you'll notice, let's look for our ABC. Is it? ABC. There it is. Hang on, I'll tell you in a sec. So in my previous recipient list, you'll see that I have this, right? And there's no name there or anything. So it's in my previous recipients list, so I could highlight it and hit remove from list. But what I want to show you more importantly is, if you look at these emails, some of these have the little icon by them. If they have the icon, it means it's in my address book. It's a contact. It's in my address book. If it's not, I can remove it. Now, you asked about alphabetizing them. If I click on name, it sorts them. It sorts them by name, and it's being slow to respond. But basically, every time I click it, it's ascending, descending, ascending, descending. I can do it by I could sort it by email name. I don't know why I'd do that, but usually just sort it by name. So. No, you don't do it from here. This is kind of a read-only or delete, but not to get it into there. Oh, I'm sorry. If they're in here, yes, you can add them to contacts. So I'm sorry. So let's go to, here's Virgil Anderson. If I highlight him and I say add to contacts, boom, he's in my contacts from here. Great point. I thought, but you can't do a new one from here. You can't do a new address. And I could window. Come down to previous recipients.
What about the ones that don't have a name when you add a name? Like your ABC didn't have a name.
Okay, let's try it. Nope, I was seeing if I could edit that field. I can't. But if I add them to contacts, then in contacts I could do it. Now, I don't want to put ABC in contacts. But what I want to show you is when we go back to the other way, the quick way, you're writing this email, you don't want to pull up that big list, and you go, crap, it keeps putting that name up. And what happens when you do the pull-down list of names? The more you click on it, the more it rises to the top. So you keep doing that wrong one, it's going to stay at the top. The good one gets lost down there, and you can't get back to it. So click on that and say remove from previous recipients list. Now, if I delete this, and I type AB, look at that, I don't get ABC anymore. Because I've removed it from previous recipients. Previous recipients is a little bit of a misnomer. It's also previous sent tos. Previous recipients is those people that you get email from that you've never added to your address book. You want to be able to autofill them, okay? So it doesn't have to be somebody in your address book. And this is important. And in the fall, it will cross-pollinate with your iOS device. So we're going to go back into, I'm going to do one other thing. Is our break at 10:20? Or is that? Okay, good. Got time.
So you got a previous set to?
It is. It's the same thing. Remember ABC? I never received anything from them because that's a bogus address. So I use that as an example, and it's a previous sent or received from list.
Can you do that in the iPad? Find that.
I think so. I'll try in a sec here. So the other two things we have in here that's really, really, really good is I don't have iPhoto fired up on my dock. iPhoto is laying nascent right now. And if I click Photo Browser, I'm seeing a read-only version of my iPhotos. Oops, I'll go to iPhoto instead of Aperture. And I can take and drag this photo right over to my mail and drop it in.
Is iPhone just storage of photos? Is that all it is?
Yeah, it's a shoebox of your photos. It does a lot more. You can edit and do a lot of things in it, but predominantly it's your shoebox. So what I've done is I've gone like this. I didn't open the shoebox. I reached in through the hatch and just grabbed that photo and drug it over here. I could drag two of them over. But now, that's pretty big for an email photo. I'm going to close Photo Browser. How I got there again was Photo Browser. Now, if we look at my message size, so I have up in this right-hand corner, I can make these whatever size I want. Generally speaking, when you email a photo, they're small like that. But if I really want to email the photo in full size, I can go actual size, and it becomes 2.5 megabytes. Never send more than 5. Okay, you can do 10, but you shouldn't. Now, some of us, Gmail allows you to send 20, but it doesn't mean the person on the other end can receive 20. So those photos are out there somewhere. Nobody knows where they are. They've gone away. They didn't get to your recipient. But if you're safe, I say 5, okay? We have a MacNexus member who they have a house up in Idaho, and they used to have dial-up when they were up there. And we had to do a setting in their dial-up to say, any message over 128 kilobytes, go ahead and say, don't do, because otherwise, every time they fired up their computer, it's churning. But 2.5 is fine, but realistically, you look at, most of the time, you just want people to be able to see what it is you're sending, and see there, 240 kilobytes, 1,000 kilobytes is a megabyte, 1,000 megabytes is a gigabyte. Okay? So that works out as a pretty good size to do it.
How do you get your caricature on your email?
In signatures. Remind me after the break, and we'll do that. And that looks like me, doesn't it?
Can they open anything, can they make the photo larger than what you send?
So the question is, can they make the photo larger than you sent it? Yeah, and it'll look crappy. So what happens is, if they're going to print it or do something else, photo share it to them, Dropbox it to them, or send them like 2 at a time and do full-size photos. In a case like that, I would send the thumbnails, and then it has a little it'll have a number on the attachment saying, it's IMG, blah, blah, blah. Say, hey, which ones do you want? And then send them the bigger ones, if you have to email it. There's some other ways to do it.
They can make it a larger size to view, but not a higher resolution.
But when you blow it up,
Right.
it's going to get, yeah, it's not, the problem is, if you send it small, it's, wow. Are those two? Oh, that's one. I was going to say, it looked like I panned around together. It's, the size it sends it is the optimal size for what it looks like. When they blow it beyond that, it starts to get pixelated and washed out. Okay, so let me quit this mail really quick, this one. Just say don't save. And I want to show you the other real cool piece, which I'm sure you will like, is I'm going to turn my signature off for right now and show stationery. Apple built in some pretty cool stationery. Birthday announcements, photo. Let's pick this one. Now, Again, not everyone will be able to see this. This is in what's essentially HTML, which is just like a browser. So I have these, well, these aren't my pictures, but I have them there. And what I can do is click on my photo browser. And I'll go in and I'll take this sunset photo there. I'll take this one and put it there, a bit of a delay. Let's go down a little ways. And I have no idea what that is. Oh, I know what it was. This was the iTunes gift card that was on sale at Fry's. Somebody said they couldn't find it on the ad. So I really want that front and center, so I'm just going to drag it over this one and they'll flop places. So now, it's a little small photo, but it also attaches a photo to it. So when they view it on their PC or on their Mac, there's also a photo attachment. Since these are so small, it will attach a regular photo. And now if I go down here, it's got all this stuff. You just start typing test MacNexus class, and then blah, 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 like that. So then you would hit send. And the photos are attached. Now, remember I said not everybody is going to be able to see all this fancy artwork that's on there. They will at least see the photo, and they'll at least see your text. So you're no worse off than you were before. And it's pretty cool. You know, you're limited on what you can do on text things and different things, but you can just go for it. You can see here, if you have one you use a lot, like this one, I would sit there and I would drag it up to my favorites, and you're building your own little favorites. So you don't have to go through all the stationery. And the question, and nobody's asked it yet, no, you can't do custom stationery yet. There's a company that makes other ones, but you know what? There's a lot here that you can work with. So again, that was show stationery, in this case, hide stationery. Show stationery, pick the stationery, and then you have to activate the photo browser to drag your photos in from it. You can do stationery without photos if you want, but that's how you get the photos into it.
Isn't that the same as Pages?
Nope.
It's not. I sent stuff like that and made a beautiful page to a family group.
Doesn't make it the same as Pages. Pages is a document creator that you can share an email from. This is all within Mail. And this fall in Yosemite, you'll be able to mark this up. You'll be able to draw little circles. You'll be able to draw arrows, little speech bubbles, and things like that. So right on the email itself. Eva?
Kim, when you do that in Yosemite and you email somebody who's got their on a PC, are they not going to be able to see your markups?
I'm not sure if it's going to go as a PDF or not. But so the whole thing is it may do it, or it may just be an image in there, kind of like this. I don't know on the markup. That's a good question. I haven't tested it yet, and if I had tested it, I couldn't disclose it.
I'm going to challenge you. Sorry, but I sent it. She sent it using. I use Family. She might use Newsletter or one of those other templates.
I didn't say you couldn't. Directly from Pages, you can send it.
Okay. I'm creating it.
In Pages?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can bring it.
Let's just, since it's kind of come up, we'll do this right before we break. So if I'm in Pages, I'm just going to pull up an old document. Oh, here. This one's ugly, but I was trying to see the comparison of the different phone sizes. Because when the new iPhone comes out, for you guys, I have to go get the new one, just so I can have it for you. And I've got a dilemma. Am I going to get the 4.7 inch or the 5.5 inch? And no, look, I'm not going to get both. I promise you. Only because it'd be so hard to keep the battery charged on both. But no, I don't need both. So this is a Pages document, and all I do from right here, I say share. And I want to share it as a PDF. You always want to send it as a PDF because everybody can read that. If I hit share it as a PDF, It automatically, even if mail wasn't open, pulls up mail, and I can send it to anybody I want there. So it interacts with mail, but it wasn't generated in mail. So where's the challenge?
Oh, I finished.
And after the break, I'm going to show you how to do kind of from iPhoto to mail too, because a lot of us like to do that. So let's try get back. Oh gosh, yeah. Let's about 10 minutes from now, if we could please, at 20 till.
Turn off the recording.
Thank you for that. You're welcome to purchase lunch at the country club if you'd like. Does it include lunch for night? Yeah, and an open bar too. So this was last weekend. Pete was a professional photographer. Well, I gotta say one thing, you guys. This is the last iPhoto class we will ever give, because in January or so we'll have a new app called Photos. But iPhoto won't stop working, and Aperture won't stop working. Just like iWeb never stopped working. Apple's stopping supporting it, but they're coming out with a new program called Photos, and it will do more than what iPhoto does. But the best part is, if I'm on my iPad and I'm on a trip and I upload from my camera to my iPad and I manipulate a photo, if I do all this stuff on the photo, before it would never get to your other iPhoto library. Just the raw photo would. Now, because of iCloud Drive, if I sit there and manipulate the photo here, on my Mac, it's manipulated the same way. If I've cropped it, if I've straightened it, etc. Apple said it will be out not when Yosemite comes out, but it needs Yosemite in iOS 8 to do it. But they figured that Photos will be released sometime in the beginning of next year. And it'll be, guess how much? Free. Just like iOS 8 and the new Yosemite will all be free. Go ahead.
Can I just set this? If I go on my
Yeah, you're testing me to see if I lied, right?
No, I just missed it. So on iOS 8, if I go to iOS 8 on my iPad, my iPhone, will it automatically just pull in photo? Or can I keep iPhoto on my iPad and also have photo?
Okay, so it's a little confusing. She asked, will it do it? So we've had an app, a $4.99 app that's fantastic on our iPad and our iPhone called iPhoto, which is more like Aperture. We've had an app here called iPhoto and Aperture. The built-in app on the iOS device was called Photos. Photos, iPhoto will still probably work and probably exist, but in fact, Photos does everything iPhoto on the iOS device does. So it'll make it so iPhoto on the iOS device won't be necessary.
And I guess I'm coming from this. We use in photo or iPhoto, we use Journal to send information
iPhoto on the iOS device.
on the iOS device. So if I go to iOS 8, am I not going to be able?
I don't know.
Okay.
And that's a great thing to look into. It's not going to make iPhoto or Aperture stop working here.
Right.
I don't know about that. They're never going to pull an app back, but whether it gets broken in iOS 8 or not, I don't know. I could probably download it here and try it and see. But it's kind of like most things don't break when it goes up. But yeah, I don't know about that because it's not going to be called iPhoto on there. It's going to be called Photos. So maybe they'll still leave room for that because the journaling, I know that's a thing.
Do you know if it's going to change all the functions? Should we stop learning anything more about iPhoto and just wait?
Is your brain full?
Yes.
I mean, are they going to translate whatever these things we do now?
No, yeah. I don't know. They briefly went on to the keynote, but every indication is it will be able to import everything. But I wouldn't spend time trying to learn more stuff. Like we didn't concentrate too much on iPhoto here. We concentrated more on the photography. iMovie isn't changing, and iMovie is exactly the same on the iOS device as it is on the iMac, or on the Mac. So it really wasn't that. But I wouldn't at this point try to learn new things because they may not be there. But from what we can gather is it will be what iPhoto does and then some more. And the reason they're changing it, it's not to screw with you. It's because I pick this up and it does exactly what this does. Why learn it twice? I mean, that's been Apple's forte all along. If you learned Pages, you learned Keynote. If you learned Keynote, you learned Numbers. I mean, they all fit the same. Everything seamlessly fits together. Well, they want that to happen here. And believe it or not, like with Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, you can open it on a PC in a browser and edit your documents. So I wouldn't spend a lot of time unless you want to, and it won't stop working. Nobody's going to force it. Okay? I asked 2 people to ask me something after. Oh, one is, okay, the first question is, why do I use AT&T? Well, in the old days, when there was just AT&T and Verizon, the big thing was, if you were on Verizon on the iPhone, you couldn't make phone calls and be on the internet at the same time. So if I'm on the phone with somebody and we want to see where a location is or book a restaurant, we couldn't do that. And on AT&T, you just can't make any phone calls at all.
Unless you have another number.
Well, there's no coverage. It's the coverage is the issue with AT&T. AT&T is getting better on their coverage, and because Verizon was this what they call the CDMA network, that's changing, so they'll be able to make calls over LTE. So as far as that goes, you'll be able to make phone calls and be on the air. And it was never a big deal, but it was just a way to do to put a wedge between the two. But the thing is, I'm on AT&T because I have one of the originals. Since June 29th, 2007, when I activated my iPhone, I've been able to have an unlimited plan. And of course, unlimited means different things to different people, because some places say, yeah, unlimited, and we'll cut you off after 3 gigabytes. What part of unlimited is that? Other places do what's called throttling. So if on LTE, if I exceed 5 gigabytes in a month of data, they'll slow me down to dial-up speed. So almost happened 1 month. I was hours away. But I keep it because of that and because of the family plan we have. But there are tons of choices right now, and I'll tell you, there are some great choices out there. You may pay for the phone up front, but you're going to pay less over 2 years because there's T-Mobile. I have a client on Virgin Mobile. He pays $30 a month. There's some great things. We will cover that as we get closer to fall. Don't rush out and buy an iPhone right now because there's new ones coming out in the fall. And T-Mobile is offering you a test drive. You can go online. They'll send you they'll put $600 on your credit card as a hold. They'll send you an iPhone 5S and let you try their network out for a week, and you take it back to the T-Mobile store and give it to them. No harm, no foul. I would document with your other phone that you put a photograph of putting the phone in there, but they've been pretty good. And in fact, I just had Keith go to T-Mobile. If you guys go to T-Mobile, contact me first, because I'll give it. You got a $25 credit, right? Or you're going to get it.
I haven't got it yet.
So if you talk to me, I'll save you $25 on your T-Mobile, because I get 20. Because I get $25 also. So, but you get 25. T-Mobile. AT&T tried to buy T-Mobile, and they made a whole bunch of money when the deal fell apart. T-Mobile has been rumored to try to be acquired by Sprint, and they'll use the T-Mobile name because Sprint has such a bad name. But now there's an investor, Iliad is a big company in Europe, and to be honest, I think if Iliad acquires T-Mobile, we may see a new internet competitor even for our home internet. So I'm excited about that, but you know what? It's a changing environment, and it is what it is at the time you buy the phone. So, getting back to here, your first class with EmpowerMac is always free, and once you're in it, here's the pyramid scheme. If you bring somebody, they get a free class, and you get a free class for bringing them. So, at some point, we'll have the pyramid. You'll have 3,000 people there, and no cash credits, though, okay? Yeah, it's the 26th. We don't know what it is. I know the one after that will be all about Yosemite and iOS 8. The August class, I think, is 23rd and 24th. We're not sure what it is yet. Again, it's kind of been a changing environment for that. But how many here have been to the Empower Mac classes? And, I mean, Pete just does an incredible job.
How many want to go?
How many are going? All right. And those are held, last one was at Sierra View Country Club. We now hold most of our classes at La Placita Dos, my best friend's restaurant, right on Greenback. And it has great Mexican food, and it's in there. But please, when the announcement goes out, sign up early because we have limited space there. If you want to get on the Empower Mac mailing list, send me an email, and I will forward it to Lisa, who's the keeper of the list. You don't get spam. I mean, they ironically don't send you very much email, so don't worry about that.
Are you going to ask to the restaurant again?
I'm sorry?
This last one was at the country.
The last one was at the Country Club, and that's the last one this year. All the rest are going to be at La Placita, so the map will reflect that. So, all right. So somebody came up afterwards, or during there, and also asked me about a printer. What printer is the best one? Well, the best one you can't get anymore is the one I recommended about a year ago to most people, where the ink cartridges were 85 cents each. Those of you that got in on that, are you pretty happy? Okay, the rest of you, it's not how much a printer costs. It's not what the printer is. It's how much the ink costs. So there's a new thing, and Pete, that teaches down there and teaches for Empower Mac in his day job, works for HP. HP has a new thing. They're going to roll it out to a lot of their printers, but right now it's a limited number of the printers, and it's called Instant Ink. And HP's cartridges have always been very expensive, and I've always tried to find ways about it because I'm really a cheap guy. But they have this Instant Ink where if you print 50 pages or less a month, it's $2.99. You could do a full color page or one little black line, it counts as a page. They don't care. When you go to print, as I'm going to show you in Safari later, you want to make sure you don't print multiple pages you don't need, especially in email too. But the way this works is this printer is interconnected, it's on the internet, it's a wireless printer, so you'll be able to print from your iPad, your iPhone, your Mac, your Android, your PC. They all print from it. And it senses when your ink gets below a certain level, and they send you a new ink cartridge. The only thing you have to do is plug in the ink cartridge. $2.99. Only certain printers do it. By the end of the year, HP hopes to offer it on all their printers. There are some $99 printers out there from HP that offer instant ink. You want to look for instant ink. I'm not a fan of, I always tell people, go get your refills, do all that other stuff. But this is true HP ink, and I'll tell you. Now, if you print a little photo, that's a page. You print an 8.5 by 11, that's a page. So it does roll over. Your 50 pages you do rolls over to the next month, but you can't keep building them. You'll never be able to roll over more than 50 pages a month. You won't end up at the end of the year with 1,000 pages credit, okay? So the plans, I think they're pretty reasonable. So anyway, that's it. It's HP Instant Ink. You can just do a Google on it, and then you'll see the shop-eligible printers. Best Buy had a $130 printer for the last 2 weeks. It was on sale for $99, the Envy, which is quite good. And they do print from the iPad and the iPhone. All right. The other thing is somebody came up and asked about backups. Please, on your Macintosh, make sure you have a Time Machine backup drive. And all that requires is going to Costco or Walmart or Fry's or Target and getting a hard drive, Best Buy, picking up a hard drive. It doesn't have to say Mac on it. You take it home. The hardest part is going to be opening the box. Because after, especially the Costco ones, believe me. That's why I carry this all the time, and that's about the only way to open the Costco box. So, you take the drive out. If it's a little portable one, you just plug it into the USB port, and it pops up and says, "Hey, I see you plugged in an external hard drive. Would you like to use Time Machine?" "Oh, okay." Press that, and it says, "I'm going to erase that brand new drive. Is that okay with you?" And you say, "Okay." And now, like magic, it backs your computer up. The first backup is going to take a while, and then after that, it backs up every hour that it's plugged in. And if you don't plug it in for 3 days, okay, you're exposed for those 3 days and that's it. The stuff on your computer is really important, and Apple makes it very easy. Don't use the stuff that's built in on the hard drives or anything else. Don't use an old hard drive because it's going to delete it. Hard drives are cheap. You can get a little portable hard drive for $69 to back up your computer. And believe me, I get that call all the time. Ken, my computer got stolen. Ken, my computer went to the space station, and I've lost it. My hard drive crashed. First thing I ask is, do you have Time Machine? And I take your data really seriously. And when I get that question, if somebody says they have Time Machine, everything's rosy. I can walk them through it on the phone, how to restore it. Okay?
I just bought a Mac Pro. Is Time Machine on there?
Time Machine is a program. You got the new Mac Pro?
Yeah. How do I get it?
I want to be your best buddy. Hook up any external hard. Well, you have to hook up an external drive to it anyway to run that thing, but you just put an external drive into the USB port, and it will fire up and say, hey, do you want to use Time Machine with this? It's a built-in program in the computer.
In the computer or in the new drive?
In the computer. The program is called Time Machine.
Strictly a Mac.
Strictly a Mac. On PC, there's other ones. In fact, if you're on a PC, in the hard drive, so when you buy a hard drive, they usually have backup programs in them. They're both Mac and they're PC. Don't use those. On a PC, yes. On the Mac, you want to completely wipe the drive and use the built-in Time Machine because it's the easiest and it's the best. And it's not called backup because I can reach back in and get things that were deleted previously.
I assume it's, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If you do have a PC, can you buy Time Machine? The program?
No. Yeah, you can. Go to the Apple Store. So, for that reason alone, no. There are some good there's some adequate backup programs. There's some pretty good ones for the PC. So, I mean, they've got that covered. It's just the nice thing is it's built in. It automatically detects the drive. If you get a name brand hard drive, it'll be built into the hard drive, and it'll do scheduling and everything else. So don't relent. And believe me, if you have a PC, you should be backing up.
Data only or?
It does the whole thing.
Applications?
Everything. In fact, it's so much so that if you go buy a new Mac or if your Mac gets crushed or whatever, I simply plug it in. As I fire up the Mac, it says, hey, do you have a Time Machine backup? You say yes. You walk away, go eat dinner, come back, and your computer is restored with everything, including your photos, your mail, your passwords. Everything is right back.
And the software applications.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
In fact, that's the preferred way. When people get a brand new computer, rather than put the two computers together and migrate them that way, I simply say, do you have a Time Machine backup? We take it off, plug it in there. We can sit there and shoot the bull and look on the internet on this one while it's running while the other one's activating.
It doesn't have to be a special Mac hardware.
No, complete. And just get USB. You know, we used to get FireWire because they were fast for the Mac. Get USB because you don't care how fast it is. The first backup's going to take overnight anyway. After that, who cares? And while it's running, you can still work on your computer.
Yeah, my MacBook Pro is about 6 years old. Does it have Time Machine on it?
If you're running 10.5 or newer on your operating system, so you probably are.
You said it's built up, isn't the Time Machine separate? It's not in your computer.
It's a program. Time Capsule is separate. That's something you can buy from Apple that's an airport router with a hard drive in it. Time Machine is the app. Any old hard drive, go to Costco.
All right. I mean, I have one, and I see it going, so I figure if that's it, I know it's.
Yeah, it's just an application.
My Time Machine keeps saying it's full.
Trust it. It is. No, that's great. So what happens?
How do I
So what happens is,
make room?
who here? Does anyone not have a DVR at home on their TV? Okay. A DVR, once it gets full, it deletes the oldest recordings you haven't looked at and fills room for new ones. You can set Time Machine to overwrite your oldest deleted stuff, not anything you have currently, but overwrite it. But you know what? Hard drives are so bloody cheap. Take that thing, put it on the shelf, and get a new one. Bigger, newer. It's cheap. And believe me, the consequences.
Oh yeah.
My hourly rate, if I have to try to recover your data, you've paid for that hard drive with 1 hour of my time. If you do it with a Time Machine, you free phone call to Ken, and that's boom, it's done. So
Okay, if
putting
I-
myself out of work, but you know.
If I phone you, will you let me know what's the best one to get?
Go to Costco. Do you have a Costco card?
Yeah.
Just get the Costco one. You've got your laptop but set up at your desk, right?
Right.
And you don't really, does it ever move from your desk?
Maybe once or twice.
So you can just get the big 4 terabyte one of a full size one, and then it has to be plugged in the wall. If you get the little USB guy for a laptop, they have a 2 terabyte, and I think it's $129. And it's just a little, you don't have to plug it to the wall or anything. It's twice as big as an iPhone. Okay? Another PC question, because you've used your PC questions up.
I'm on the edge. Can you recommend?
You're on the edge.
Can you recommend a backup drive for a PC that one that you would recommend?
MacBook Pro. Do you have if you get the Costco ones, they're name brand, they're Seagates and WDs, they have the built-in stuff. And believe me, any name brand one, Seagate, Western Digital, all of those. And you know, everybody's had bad stories about one brand or another brand. Just use it, you know? And that's the beauty of a backup. Hey, worst thing that happens, your backup drive dies, well, you still have your info here, right? You're protecting yourself from here. I recommend 2 backup drives. Because I have some photos that are, my nephew is never going to be 13 years old again. I have those photos. I can use them like when his kids get to be 13, I can use them as blackmail on him if I want to. So those are in here, and I have a backup hard drive. Well, you know, I've been really worried lately about the meteorite strikes that look like just missing here. And if a meteorite comes and hits my house, I've lost my computer and my backup drive. So I've lost all the leverage I have against my nephew. But if I have a second backup drive, and I have it in a safe deposit box, or somewhere more than 10 blocks from my house, I have it there. Now, when you go out and take pictures in the garden of 30 of your roses, you take 30 pictures. Don't rush out and go get your backup hard drive, because it's 30 pictures of the rose bushes, for God's sakes. Who cares if the meteorite hits your house? The roses are gone. Okay, they got memories. But when you take a trip to Mozambique and you come back with 1,000 new photos and you know that some of those you can't replace, go get your backup hard drive and plug it in. But Ken, I already have a backup hard drive here. Your computer is smart enough to differentiate between the two. And it says, this one you've been backing up daily. This one, when it comes over here, I'm going to give you whatever it was since I last backed up 30 days ago and give it its information. And they're both up to snuff. And then don't rotate them. Just take it and put it back over away. Okay? Then you're completely covered. In the fall, the iCloud Drive will give you some space, but there is nothing like a full, big hard drive. Okay? Hard drives have dropped in price dramatically. They don't have to say Mac. Just get them. Keith.
How do I have a backup drive in the safety button, and I still keep every 6 hours or 12 hours, I get a pop-up warning saying, you need to back up this drive. How do I turn that warning off? Because I can't back it up.
You get every 6 or 8 hours?
Well, I don't know, maybe once a day.
Maybe once every 5 days.
All right, one more.
Okay, I would say click on it. Are you running Mavericks, the newest?
No.
See, in Mavericks, it shouldn't do it. It'll usually, like after 10 days, it'll tell you that. But you know, to be honest, there's a good reason for that, because it's that little nagging reminder of you haven't backed up. It doesn't, but see, with the new one, if you're using 2 drives, if you're in Mavericks, it senses you're backing up to the one. I don't think it's going to ask you for the other drive, but I'm not positive. And then you had a question here?
Yeah, I had a question. I bought one of those 2 terabyte ones. I put it to a PC meeting, and just for grins, we split it in half, made 2 out of the 1. And I haven't used it to back up my PC, but I'm so discouraged with that PC world. Can I take that drive now that's formatted for Windows and hook it up to here with the 2 sides, and it will work? Or do I have to reformat it?
You need to get rid of the partition. If you don't want that partition on there, Yeah, just go into disk utility and you can say make it one
On here?
partition. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Macs can do it all. PCs can't read Mac files. Macs can read PC files. There was one other question before we go back to mail. You know, yeah, we belabored that, but I can't tell you how important backup really is. I mean, it really, really, really. And you don't. Who here has ever lost a hard drive and lost data? Okay. It cost me 15 years ago. I was doing the right thing. I had a little Mac laptop that had these feet that propped out so it would have air current underneath, and it was the PowerBook 140. And back in the day, it was the zip drive. It was a SCSI zip drive. So I had gone out and bought this because I'm getting ready to go to a trade show, and I have my dealer database on here, and it was important, and I said, I better back up. So I went and bought the zip drive, and as I'm plugging it in for the first time to the back of the computer, those little fold-out legs, which propped up my keyboard and created this, it was built part of the computer, as I plug it in, the legs collapsed. And the back of the computer dropped this far. Enough to ping my hard drive. That database had a decade of work in it. I took it to Drive Savers in Marin, and as I'm in their very nice waiting room in their very nice office, they show in the fish tank there's a couple hard drives, one they recovered from the Nile and all this, and I'm thinking, yeah, something's got to pay for this nice office. 15 years ago, $1,200. Prices haven't gone down, but they got my data. And the worst part is, I mean, I was on the bad side of karma because I was backing it up when this started. So, anyway. And I mean, they did. They actually had hard drives. A photographer was in the Nile, and he had, the canoe or the boat had capsized, and they recovered the hard drive, and they were able to get all the data off of this guy's hard drive. So, whew. All right, back to mail. Okay, so some questions. So we did the compose new mail, etc., and obviously you just hit send. What I wanted to do, some people asked about signatures, and somebody asked for one other thing besides signatures. What was it? Okay, it was hard drives. I'm going to go into the mail preferences, M-A-I-L, preferences, and you shouldn't go in here and change some things in your accounts, whatever you do. Unless you like paying me money, but otherwise, in general, it's okay. I tell it, by default, when it says searching mailboxes, junk is not selected. I select junk because if something went to my junk folder, that's probably the mail I'm looking for that I may have missed. So just tell it to search junk, so you want to activate that. Okay? At this place, you can also change the sounds you want for your mail. I just have used Blast for a long time. Just a little aside, a little trivia. What's that say? So sue me. That's been around the Apple for a long time because at some point someone did a lawsuit against Apple for music or something else. I think it was the Apple Core Records thing. So the Apple guys said, well, we need a name for whatever this sound is, so that's So Sue Me. So sue me. All right, accounts, please, you really don't want to do any changes in here. If you have to add a new account, you hit the plus sign. That's fine. I will show you in mailbox behaviors. Yeah, first off, you don't need to have stored draft messages on server because a lot of times as you type, it's storing it on the server, and you look in your trash can and it'll be all these emails you start doing. So deselect store messages on server. It's not needed. Store draft messages on server unless you need that. Store sent messages on server. That's so that if I send an email, if I'm using an IMAP protocol, if I send an email, either iCloud Mail or Apple Mail or Google Mail, if I send a mail from here, I can go into my iPhone or iPad and it'll show me my sent messages, even though it was sent from a different device, if you need that.
You said you don't need it, but over there it's got sent on the left-hand side, and yeah. That's
specific to, those are the ones that were sent from this machine. But if I go down here, down lower, and I was to go into these email accounts, it would show me from the server. .mov is a QuickTime file. Apple developed it. All right, we're back. I think we're back. Oh, that's the recording. I don't need that. More. All right, so we're in accounts. So, we were talking about spam and false positives. So you may have to log into your Gmail account in a browser to check your spam folder. I sent myself an email to one of my accounts and I was in my spam folder. So I had to go into gmail.com and how many here have Gmail? Okay, this is important then, and the rest of you are getting it, I know. I can read your minds. If I go to gmail.com, make sure I'm on the right. Ooh, I'm not on the right one. Oops, not that one. So if I go into my Gmail, on the left-hand side, you'll see spam right here. But realistically, spam is usually down farther. I've taken it and moved it up to here. But if I go to my spam folder, you can see, thank God, these never get to my inbox in mail. M-A-I-L. Yeah, I have a message that TJ reclassified. This is all crap. This is all fake. ADP, I don't use ADP. I mean, it's just, thank God it filters this. And the way it filters is it sees a bunch of these going. So it's put in my spam folder. But let's say that let's say Chu Wang Chan and his proposal was an email I was really looking for. I would click on this and I would tell it it's not spam. And it would learn that it's not spam, and therefore it would come through to because I'm not getting this on my Apple Mail client. Because it never made it to my inbox because Google is sequestering it. Okay? Which is right. I mean, look at what they do. And you don't have to worry about going into this inbox because it only keeps them, the spam folder only goes back 30 days. Okay?
Ken, on our mail program, there's a junk icon.
I'm going to talk about that in a second. So I wanted to get this first because it's a second thing. So this is which account is this? Oh yeah, this is the one I don't use much. Let's switch to this one. 23,717 messages. And this is one account that actually for a short time it dropped off my old ones. But look at this, I'm only using 14% of the space they allow me. So there's no reason to ever delete. All right, so if it's spam, you want to tell it it's not spam. If it is spam, just leave it there. And if there was something here like, are you okay, I called you. So see, I don't want that one. So I'm going to click it here and tell it as spam. And it deletes it. And then it will remember that. So that's in gmail.com. When I go back to our mail program, I want to show you where you can go see that though. If I go down here to my Gmail, oh, where is it? It's not in here. Sorry. Let's go back to that account preferences. All right, so we're back at account preferences. Now, that was spam. So that spam makes it, if it got through the spam folder, if it wasn't spam, it comes to your mail client. And with our mail client, it's either going to come to our inbox or going to go to our junk mailbox. Now, the Apple Store used to be upstairs right next to JCPenney at Arden Fair. So I subscribed to the JCPenney deal alert. So I would get email once a week or so from JCPenney. I don't want that in my inbox because I don't go to JCPenney every day. But if I'm going to the Apple store, I used to walk through JCPenney to get there, so if they had stuff on sale, I would go into my junk folder and look for the current JCPenney ad. So while it's kind of spam, it's spam I don't need it in my inbox, but by it going to my junk mailbox, it stays there for 30 days, and I can go find the most recent one. So you can use junk as a tool. Now, by putting it in the junk box, only the mail program is telling it it's junk. I'm not telling Google it's spam because it isn't, because I signed up for that. So it comes into here. I don't want to see it in my mailbox. So, for instance, here, RC Willie.
So it's just a filter.
It's just a filter. And I can tell it it's junk. Now, you occasionally may have gotten an email in that looks brown in color. And if it's brown in color, that's telling you, I think it's junk, and it'll go to the junk mailbox. So use it as a tool, but don't manage it. Only go into the junk mailbox if you don't get an email from somebody you're expecting, and if you've put something in there like an ad you want to see. So if I go back to those preferences, junk, I don't need it stored on the server. I don't know why that is. I don't care. But I also tell it to delete it after 30 days. Because if I'm looking at an ad for JCPenney, it's probably expired after 30 days. So my junk box doesn't just keep getting filled. After it's been 30 days old, it'll go away. And I tell the trash mailbox to do the same thing. So if you get an email from someone that you think is junk, don't just delete it. Because then if you get it from them again, it's going to come to your inbox. But if you think it's junk and you click junk, you'll never see it in your inbox again from them. It'll go straight to your junk folder. So don't delete it because it has no opportunity to learn that it's junk. Click junk and it goes to your junk folder, and just like your trash box, it empties after 30 days if you have it set to empty after 30 days. And I like 30 days. Some people do it on one day. Some people do it. I like it because, hey, it doesn't take up much room. It's a buffer. Let it go in there. And that way, if I did miss something, I can go in there and check it. So we've got a few questions. Here first.
Okay. Now that's all junk that's in brown, and I get that. But let's just say I don't want Amazon local in junk. I would rather have Amazon local into my
Inbox.
inbox.
Okay? So let's say I go here and I wanted Sam's Club in my inbox and I don't want it to be junk. I tell it it's not junk. And it will unlearn it.
Where did you tell it that?
Right up here. I click on this. I click on it first.
That doesn't come up most of the time.
Up top, it'll either say junk or not junk.
All it'll say is junk.
Right. But he's saying if it went, okay, so you can tell it it's junk.
I know I can tell it, but that icon that says not junk does not appear unless it's on.
If you're on a brown one, it will.
It may not be.
But I know, because if it's not a brown one, it doesn't think it's junk. You need to tell it it's junk.
So,
We're not, let's hang on. So, and I'm sure everybody's thinking this, so let's go here back to inbox. And like this Gregory Lawler, I don't know. AFSB. Okay. So you'll notice I don't have not junk because this is not a brown. Gregory Lawler is not brown, right?
Are you in your junk box?
No, I'm in inbox.
Okay, but if you're in the junk box, they aren't all brown.
Right, but they may not have turned brown, and it's a weird thing where Google may or somebody may have said they're junk, so they went to the junk box on their own, but they didn't turn brown, and that's a weird phenomenon. But yeah, you're right. But sometimes also you'll get a brown one here that didn't go to junk. So what I do in that case is I tell it it's junk or not junk, and I just go click, and then it kind of sets it. It's a weird anomaly in the new mail.
So there's no settings anywhere that I can apply that be sure that.
No, you have to, and it's not everything. It's just a few items happen that way. But if they're already in the junk folder, don't worry because it's filtering them for you.
It's also getting those nasty messages you have on the Google spam page.
But you're a lady.
What can I say?
They're getting it. You're getting it where?
I'm getting it in my inbox junk file, in my junk file.
Not if you don't. Not if you don't. Not if you don't look in your junk folder.
In mail.
Not if you don't look in your junk folder. That's right. So that part of it's working. So what happens is it got past the spam filters of the provider, and it went to your junk folder. And yeah, I mean, please, people, don't take that stuff personal. I mean,
No,
I definitely don't need breast enlargement, but I get them all the time. Okay, so it's kind of, and you know, I mean, I think those people should all be drugged around and shot, and just be happy because they're probably all on PCs.
I would just like more to not have to click and drag all of those messages out of junk into the inbox so that I can.
Oh, once it's in the junk folder, to get it in your inbox, you have to drag it. But what you should do in that case is click and tell it it's not junk, or click and tell it it's junk on the actual one. Tell it it's junk, then tell it it's not junk, and it'll unalert it. You may need to kick it somehow. Okay, I know it's a weird thing, but it happens. It happens rarely, but it does. Okay, Mary?
A friend sent me an EVA to an event, and she sent it a couple of times, and I never received it.
To what email account? Mac or mail or what? Gmail? Yahoo?
I
Enough said.
I tried checking the.
Go to the server and look in spam.
I did, and it wasn't there.
She may have misaddressed it. Have her send it to one of your alternate ones. So this brings up a good question. So Royce, you asked about Amazon. So let's think about this for a second. If you purchase something from Amazon, you're going to get a receipt, you're going to get a shipping confirmation and all that, but you're also going to get all those ads. They come from different email addresses at Amazon. So if I don't need to see my Amazon ads about baby cribs, for instance, I tell it it's junk on the ads, but it's a different email address that sent the shipping confirmation and the order confirmation and all that. So don't think that if I tell one Amazon ad to go there, it's going to take them all. Now, my JCPenney one, of course, it's the ad one that I told was junk. In Amazon, you can tell it it's the ad one that's junk, but you're still going to get your pertinent ones. Okay? Because they're from a different email address. It doesn't say, oh, this is Amazon. It says it's ads@amazon.com and payment information at amazon.com.
So it's not the domain?
No, it's actually because let's look at it this way. You get if you get a bunch of emails from people at Gmail, it shouldn't blacklist all the Gmails, is how it kind of works. Yeah. So, and again, it doesn't report it back as spam. So if you're persistently getting, and you know, these spammers, what they do is they tweak their address just a little here and there and stuff. But do your due diligence. The time you spend telling something it's junk is going to reward you. All right, back to settings. That's always a little painful to go through that. And I think in the fall we're going to have junk be able to be done on our iOS device. Go ahead.
Periodically, I receive in junk and spam a regular correspondence that should have been going to my regular email accounts. Why?
Don't ask why, let's ask how to fix it.
Okay, how to do it?
So, who's your email provider?
Gmail.
Okay, go to gmail.com and tell it not spam if it's in the spam folder on your gmail.com, or here, if it's in your junk folder, click on it in junk and just tell it it's not junk and it will unlearn it. Like I said, I sent myself an email and it goes to junk sometimes if it's a new account of mine, and I just tell it it's not junk and then it never happens again.
So spam and junk are two different things?
Yeah, because spam is really actually at the server itself. And junk is what got through the server and gets to you, but that's why you can also use junk as a bit of a tool. And don't feel like you have to clean the junk folder out. But again, and if somebody sends you an email, excuse me, sends you an email, don't say it's junk if this is someone you're going to get communication from. At that point, just plain delete it because it's not teaching, it's junk. Deleting is just saying just throw that message away. Don't send that person to the junk folder.
Is it true that if an address is in your address book, it will come through to your email?
Yes and no and maybe. It really all depends. It depends on what you have for filters, and that we can go down a whole. You can set up total filters. I can say send only if people are in my address book to this box, but no, that's not it's not a general setting. It's something that can be set up. Okay, Mary?
Can you check spam on the iCloud email?
I think in this fall, wait, check spam or junk mail?
Or junk in the iCloud?
I think in the fall you'll be able to. We kind of can now, but I think what happens... So the problem right now is, if I have 2 Macs and I set junk on this one, it doesn't apply to junk on my other one. I think all that's going to get rolled into one, kind of syncing it through the cloud. So, because I've noticed there was something that blew me away. We know the contacts all sync, but when I set up the iPhone, a bunch of other stuff filtered in. It's almost like it's taking all of our information and making it go into the other devices now on stuff that you wouldn't even think of. So we think that junk will sync, but we don't know that for sure.
So, but we can't check spam on the, like my me.com.
There is no such thing. They decide to... That's what's kind of weird about it. Apple doesn't really have a spam folder. Okay, so there's junk mail. Just enable it. We go through there. Fonts and colors. Now remember, if we decide to make our font bigger for us to see it, it also is when you're sending a message a little bit bigger, but that's how you adjust this here. But remember in our mail, we were able to format our text outgoing as we want. But this is more for your own viewing of your messages. You can mess with that. Viewing. The new look is like this. The old look is classic layout. There's really not a lot to be done here. You can have unread messages in bold font rather than that. Composing. Now, how many here have multiple email accounts? Okay, so when you send an email, like let's say I have a personal and a work email. If I don't want to send the work people my personal email address, and I don't want personal people to get it from my work email address. So even though I have those 2 in there, I can only set send new message from, and then I can pick what account I want to send it from. This is only new messages. In other words, when I come over here, now, first of all, I got to tell you how yours is set from the factory, and I think it's crazy. Yours is set on account of selected mailbox. Whichever mailbox I happen to be on in my inbox is what it's going to send it from. How consistent is that? No. I would suggest taking it and putting it on the email address you're most likely to send a message from. So I'm going to pick kenspencer@mac.com. Now, when I go back over here and compose a new message, it's going from my kenspencer@mac.com. Well, that's fine, except I need to send it from my work address. And now I just click on that. Again, you have the choice here always. All we're doing in this window is setting what one we want as our default for a new message. Now let's talk about forwarding and replying because it's a little different story. No matter what I have said here, it does not affect forward or reply. So, I have 2 email boxes here. This is a side thing I do. So if I'm going to reply to Jim Cerrone and I'm in this box and I hit reply, you can see it goes from this email address. It will always automatically reply from the email address it was sent to. But I can say, no, I want to send it from that one.
You're trying to get people to be used to your new address and just.
Your new address would be good, yeah, because any new messages would come to it, like those of you going from Yahoo to Gmail, you would do it. But when you respond to a Yahoo, it's going to fire up Yahoo, change it. If we set your Yahoo to forward to a Gmail, it'll come to you as a Gmail and you'll reply as a Gmail, because many people just do their replies from that. Okay?
Forward, you can set up automatic forwards to one.
Yeah, from your mail provider. You do that in the basis there. So like you would set it so Comcast, SureWest, etc. When it comes to them, like we do for MacNexus. MacNexus, we don't handle that email anymore. It gets forwarded to a Gmail account and people go check it there. So I'm going to do something here because we have another thing to show you here. So I'm going to do a new message from that. Oops. Bear with me one sec here. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. This entry is on January 12th, 2015 at 10 p.m. Oh, come on. You're not impressed that it typed for me? All right. Part T. Okay, I wanted to get this sent so we can go in here and look at some more settings. So, again, reply to, so like if I'm in my Ken Spencer at Mac.com and I hit reply to Pete, let's say, and I hit reply, I can still make it go from whatever mailbox I choose. You cannot, Outlook, I think you can do it differently. You can say, always reply from this one. In this, you can only reply from where it came to. I don't know if new mail will change on that. Go ahead.
Sometimes when I have attachments, it'll attach the file name, and sometimes it puts the whole document.
Uh-huh.
How do you, and it's not, I can't figure out how to make it the way I want it and a given address.
Take a couple deep breaths and relax, because it all works perfectly. But what happens is, if it's a PDF or a picture, in Mac, it shows you what it looks like instead of this little icon with a line under it. We all have gotten attachments, right, where you see a little icon with a line under it. Let me see if we can find party. Yeah, I'm going to see if I've got one here. Let's see. Message. Mark as unread. Oh, here we go. So Al sent us this with an attachment about iDraw. There's a new update to iDraw. And this is an image. If this were a PC, or if you looked at this in your browser, you would just see it'd be named and all that. It'd be a little icon. You wouldn't actually see what it is. In the Mac, it says, why hide it from you? Why not let you see it? When you attach it in an outgoing, you see what it is, but when the person receives it on a PC, it still just looks like an attachment. So Apple's just letting you see more, and people that receive this will see it, but really it's just a good old attachment. Apple's just saying, hey, why not let you see it? If it's a PDF, it'll be the single page of the PDF, but if it's a multiple page PDF, it'll only show an icon. Okay? We're getting a little weeds on that, but anyway, it works. All right, back into composing. Now, the other thing I hate that's on by default is increased quote level. Have you all gotten those messages that go back and forth 12 times, and it goes farther and farther and farther across until the sentence is 3 letters long and it scrolls to the next one? You can't control what they send to you, but you can stop being Typhoid Mary and not further that by sending do not increase quote level. Keep it off. Quote level means it quotes the previous message. And you know how when you've done, let's say you do an email back and forth, the same subject 10 times.
The email chain, all that stuff.
And sometimes it indents. Some of them just quote marks, sometimes it indents. I can't, because Mac doesn't format it that way, but let's see here if I can get into view, organized by conversation. Yeah, see, this is multiple emails. Yeah, it's not a good example because the Mac just doesn't do it that way. But you've all seen it where those lines go across. Just don't increase, just deselect increase quote level. Now, we're going to signatures. Signatures you have on your iOS device, and I'll show you where when we get done with signatures here. But I've detected a sneaky way to get images on this device, but it's a little bit difficult, and we think that might get fixed in iOS 8. I've tested it. But here's how we do a signature. So a signature, everybody knows what a signature is. It's what happens at the bottom of an email. I have this little guy here, this little image, and it's websites, etc. So we want to create a new signature, so I click on the signatures at the top, and I hit plus. Now, it puts that in automatically because it's just getting that out of my address book, okay? But I can add to it, I can name this MacNexus. Oops. Doesn't correct my spelling or my typo. And I can put in here blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, I've created the signature, but I haven't attached it to any of my email accounts. So if I want this signature to live in my Gmail account, I have to drag that signature to that account. I can also add it to this other account. I can have it in any of those accounts I want, but it will not exist unless I move it or copy it to that account. So if I go to my Gmail, now I have MacNexus here. And you guys will have to go back through the video because this is a little bit fast, but I have different signatures, and I did go down here, and I say, oh, on this account, I want to have it be default to the MacNexus, or default to this one, or default to this one. Or many people have quotes on the bottom of their email, and the quotes rotate, right? Which is really kind of neat. Different things, you know, Gordon Brock used to have one on his. They said this software requires Mac or software requires Windows XP or better, so he bought a Mac. Was a pretty cool quote on the. You can have it go at random or in sequential order. You can rotate them or tell it to default to each one. Well, I'm going to tell it, I'm going to keep it at merch because I really don't want to mess this up if I'm sending out an email from that. But if I go to new message and I select that account, now over here I can choose which one of that. MacNexus, I just made it. I can choose it on that one. But remember, merch was my default one. So we'll go back over that really quickly. You make a signature by hitting the plus sign. I'm sorry, you're in signatures first. Actually, you can do it if you're in the other one. But you make the signature, and then you have to drag it to the accounts you want to use it in. And then once you're in the account, you come down here, and you can pick which signature you want to be the default if you want it, or you can tell it to do none. Like sometimes I'll just say, oh, I don't want that, I just want none, and that signature's not there. Okay? Signatures you can add images to, because that's everybody's next question, and it's not hard, well, it's not easy, but all you do is if I go to this MacNexus, and I go, I'm going to go find an image. Let's see, it's,
Insert.
nah, it's a drag. It's a drag and drop. It's not really an insert. Mac guy, there we go. So I found this file. It's a JPEG, and I just drag it over to here, and there it is. Okay? Be careful. You don't want to drag well, that one's okay, but you don't want to drag too big a one. No, you can't. A good question. Can you resize it here? No, you can't. You actually have to do it in some sort of graphics program. Yeah, it's not doing it, but it's still pretty large. I mean, that's just too big for a signature thing. Okay? Then that, again, now if I modify this here, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to take off these 3 lines. Now when I go down here, it modifies the signature everywhere it is. So I edit the signature anywhere, and it affects everywhere that signature is.
I just found it a really cool use for signature. I'm launching a new product nationwide, and I get 100 emails a day from people wanting the same thing. So for a while I was typing response to everybody.
Oh yeah.
And after a while I thought, well, I can kind of can this, put it in Word, copy it, paste it. I just created a signature.
Yeah.
And then you can still change it a little bit, like
Yep.
Gary Bob instead of Dear Scott or whatever.
Yeah, and in fact, you can kind of, so you have the signature there, and then you can even pull in one of your other signatures, but you have to kind of copy and paste in the message.
Right.
You could also make a draft message.
Right, that's kind
And
of
then
what
do
I-
that, yeah. But signatures, I mean, they're great. They add a little flair to it and stuff. And remember, not everybody, some people may see my image, and on a PC it may just look like a little attachment of a JPEG. But it is what it is, I mean, at least the information is there. Go ahead.
If you do quotes, where do you do that?
I'm sorry?
If you wanted to put quotes, where do you put
What you would do is you would go out and find those quotes, copy and paste them into new signatures, each one.
into new signatures?
Yeah, you create a new signature and just copy and paste that in. And then what you do is you put those signatures in here, and then you just say do all those signatures in random order. They're still a signature even though they're a quote.
But you're saying put them in and then just pick, I don't know where they're going.
Each one has to be a signature.
I understand each one does, but what column are you clicking in?
I have, no, I'm not clicking, there's nothing different about copy and pasting the quote than there is just typing it.
But some of those things you typed on the right side, some of those things you typed in the middle column. Where do the
Here?
signatures get entered? Over in the big side.
Once I've created the signature, I simply drag this signature down to whichever email I want to use it in. Is that, no, it's important. I'm sure you're not the only one.
I'm getting from somewhere on a page I have found, I've put a quote down.
Okay,
Now, I open signatures.
hang on, let's just do world's best quotes. Now, here, whatever. Here we go. So I'm going to highlight this text. Wow, red. There you go. Problem is, it's not white. So now I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to put it right here. So I copied and pasted it, same as typing it. And you notice it was a bigger font too, so I could adjust that font because where I copied it from, it was pretty large. Okay?
And where do you adjust the font?
You can say always make the font here, or paste and match style, which means whatever it was already. So then what would happen is you'd have say 3 of these, and you'd add all 3 of those signatures down here to an email, and then say do it in random order. Now, the same person might get the same quote twice in a row because you sent a couple other emails in between, but it just does it randomly.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to get rid of that one. And when I delete it, it will delete it from the accounts that it was in also. Okay?
random?
What you do is you have to click on one of the accounts, like here, and then down here, you say, display them in random order. And it'll pick a new one each time. When you remember we pulled down from the mail though, and we had different ones here. Random is not your choice here though. Okay? And remember, look here, here's a shortcut to go to where you edit your signatures also. Shortcut, boom, it fires up edit signatures. All right? Okay. Go ahead.
So if you wanted to sometimes use that random quotes thing, but not always on all your Gmail, would you have to put the Gmail in the second time?
Yeah, exactly. You'd have two different accounts to do it. Or actually, yeah, it's not, I mean, yeah. It's just great that it does it. The last thing is rules. We won't really go into too much. But like I have, oh, for instance, a website I registered for a friend is AmericanAccessControls.com. There's a company in Florida. These are like gate operators and stuff. They're American Access Control. Well, I get email for her. It's always advertisements for their company all the time. So, and she's, I'm happy to forward it along and all that. But I've set a rule that anything that comes that says Cheryl at AmericanAccessControls.com, I say, go ahead and send it to Cheryl at American Access Control. So as long as my computer's on, it comes in, that rule says send it and forward it. That's a kind of rule you can do. I have one here that was, I kept getting these messages that appeared to be from a friend of mine. She doesn't use this email address anymore. And I said, anything that comes in here, move it to the trash. Because I was getting daily. And the spammer, junk wouldn't work, anything else. The spammer was constantly changing it. So it was a Yahoo email address, surprise enough, that got hacked. And so that was... So the rules are things you can do. You can get it to be pretty specific. God, we're almost out of time. Quickly, any mail, M-A-I-L, questions? Go ahead. Alfredo?
I've been trying to send photos from iPhoto directly, and it doesn't seem to. Do I need to?
How many at a time?
Just one.
Oh. So in iPhoto, once it fires up, any other questions while it's it's fired up? So let's take this, which is the, I took this picture in Yosemite. This is the natural firefall. Happens for 2 weeks in February. And I can go down here and hit share. What? This is the natural firefall. That's Horsetail Falls, and that's the setting sun reflecting on it. I was really lucky to get it. It's about a 2-week period if the falls are running, because it's a very small fall. So from here, I would hit mail, and when I hit mail, it doesn't fire up Apple Mail. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But you can see here we have kind of our own little templates over here again too. And this would attach it to it. But it will always show you the size of the photo. So if I wanted to do this in full size, it's 4 megabytes here. So you can adjust it by pulling down right over here. Okay? I can also set in my preferences, when in iPhoto preferences, email photos using, in your case, you could do Outlook. So in other words, when you go from here, instead of doing it in iPhoto kind of has its own little email as what it's using now. So you have to have it filled in. It has to have one of your accounts in it. But I can send it via Apple Mail. So it just opens up in Apple Mail, or in your case, like it could be Microsoft Outlook, it would open in Microsoft Outlook, rather than see this screen. So you see your normal mail screen. But to be honest, there's some nice features over on this you can do. iPhoto's great, but it's going away. But you'll be able to do that same thing in Photos. Okay. So we were supposed to cover Safari, but we covered a lot of stuff. Does anybody have any Safari questions? Or let's show you, since it relates to mail. If I'm in Safari, I want to show you 2 really great things. I'm going to go to CNN.com, not that that's where I want to go, it just does my example perfectly. I'm at CNN.com, and now I'm going to go to an article here. I don't want to read about Ebola, the FBI doesn't joke, okay, Jimmy Hoffa. So I'm going to click on this article, and look right up here, we now have this blue button called Reader. If I click on that blue button, I don't see all those ads.
Just starting out.
I see.
And on a budget. Like a ramen noodle.
Unfortunately, I hear in the background the ad.
She thought
But look how clean that is. If you want to print it or if you want to email it, it's the way to go. Now, speaking of email, it won't appear all the time, but when it does, it's there. And I'm going to show you where it is on your iOS device. Oops, I don't want drag and dictate. No, quit. On our iOS, oh, when it crashed, it undid me. Hang on.
If it doesn't show on your MacBook, how do you get it up there?
You can't. What it is like in CNN, the first page of CNN is like a table of contents. So it won't show up on that. It's when I drill down to the article that it will, but it won't always be available. SACB.com, sorry Randy, turn your head. He works for Sacramento Bee. SACB.com is a perfect example. If I go to the main page in SACB.com, it's not there. But if I go to an article, advertisement, they got through. Now I can hit Reader. And if you're blocked on SACB.com because you visited it too many times and a little screen says up, you need to subscribe. Yes, you should all subscribe because that's how Randy makes his living. Well, he's in the other end of it. But anyway, if you hit Reader, you'll be able to read that ad or that article. Now, I'm going to show you on the iPhone where this is. And if I go to Safari, for instance, so I'm at an article here. I don't know if this one will work. So when I hit the article, now I have, instead of a blue button, I have these lines. And look at that, like magic, I have it right here. And even more magic,
Apple on Saturday unveiled Dreams, the latest in its ongoing series of.
next class. Now, so so what you do is, I press and hold to highlight something. This has nothing to do with Reader, by the way. This is separate. I press and hold, like I'm going to copy and paste on the phone, and then I drag this down, and then speak. Should be, is it on everybody's? Try that. Press and hold and highlight, and tell me if you have speak. You may not. We may have to activate it. But if I just hit speak.
Dreams, the latest in its ongoing series of television advertisements touting the V.
Does speak come up on yours or not? Okay, we have to enable speakable items. So let's do that, because I'll tell you, that's really useful. By the way, that's also a way to proofread yourself, your emails or documents.
On the iPad?
It's a great way. Yes, on the iPad and on the Mac. So if I go to my Mac, and I highlight something, I can control-click on it, speech, start speaking.
The policy changes, filed in Sacramento federal court as part of a long-running legal battle, essentially require prison guards to stop and consider alt.
So let me find on the phone, and I'll tell you how to get there. 1 sec. I think it's... So go to your iPhone or your iPad. Go to Settings, the gray gear. Let me see, I think we got disconnected. Okay, so Settings, come down to General. Okay, at General, come down to Accessibility. Now, how many were at the presentation that the blind guy used the phone, okay? That guy uses his phone as well as I do. There's all kinds of stuff built in here you wouldn't believe. But click Accessibility and then pick Speak Selection. And you can set the rate with which it speaks to you. And the voice, you can change the voice. If you wanted to sound like the voices in your head, you can. You can try get it to match. Go, starting back at general. General accessibility. And then under accessibility, speak selection. What that's saying is what you've selected, in other words, what you turned blue, speak that. Speak selection and just turn it to on. All right? So now I'm in my car. Not only do I send text messages while I'm driving because I never touch my phone with Siri. I send emails, I make phone calls, but I can also have it read me the internet. And I never have to touch my phone. What was? Okay. All right. And don't forget Reader. Use Reader, especially if you're going to print things because it's so much cleaner than seeing all those ads. I did want to point out on print, make sure when you're in Safari and you hit print, the first time you print from Safari, it's a small little screen like this. You want to hit show details, and then it's always exposed, and now you can pick how many pages, 1 of 1, 3 of 3. On your iOS device, when you print, it depends on your printer. Sometimes you can't choose 1 of 5, 2, print page 2 of 2 or something like that. But on some you can. On this you always can. And you always use the preview window because inevitably you go along and the last page is always got like that. If you're buying 50 pages a month, that last page is not that important, right? All right, any questions? Safari, internet, mail, we've got it all cured. Go ahead.
Really quick question, to mail an article, an email.
From like from a website?
From the Safari.
Okay.
You're in Safari, you've got a web page, and you want to email an article to somebody. You just give the article to that.
First of all, you can email it from Reader or from the regular web page.
But I feel, it seems that now all they do is give you the list.
Yeah, let me show you that. They've changed that. So, you can just highlight the link and send that to somebody, but you've got this little share icon, so why not use it? So if we click share, email, or message, if you were going to text it to them, we're going to hit email this page now, because we used to have email this page or email this link, but now what we've got is right here is where you want. We want to send either the link only, or the web page, or a PDF of the web page, and the PDF is still clickable. But let me tell you a second, because this is important, what you want to send. If I'm on CNN.com, and I see this and it says, U.S. doctor with Ebola arrives in Atlanta hospital, and I go to email this page, and it's just the link, and you say, oh my God, isn't this terrible news that the doctor got Ebola? And you send it to me, and tomorrow it says, the headline says, Apple introduces 5 new phones and they're doing better than ever. And you said, boy, isn't this bad news? So you wouldn't want to send the link in that case, but the alternative is you could send the page, because then it's a snapshot of the page, or if I dig down to the article, once I'm on the article itself, I'm not sending CNN.com, I'm sending the link to the article. Does that?
And you're sending it by going to file.
I can still do share.
CNN's chief medical
Email
correspondent,
page,
Sanjay Gupta, is at
and I still can do link, but notice how, there it is. Notice how that link is much longer.
From the Air Reserve Base in Atlanta to Emory University Hospital, but still unclear.
It's the share button right here.
You have to go up to file, and then you drop it there and it says
Share.
share, and then it says email.
That's the exact same as share, but email this, same thing, see, email this page. No, it'll either, the link is the default, but you can do the page or you can do a PDF. Once you've started the email. Then what happens in the email, then you have this little pull down right here, and that pull down says, that's new in Mavericks. Because you used to say, send this link or send this page. Now it says, email this page. It sends the link usually, but if you say something else. And that's how you should share stuff from here. It makes it really easy so you can, let people know what you're looking at. But be careful if you're sending the link of a page that changes periodically, because they could be thinking weird things about you. Thank you.